Her hand was trembling when she touched his wrist, stopping a signature that would have destroyed everything. 2 years of silence. 2 years of carrying plates and swallowing rage. But when Lena Voss saw that clause buried in Adrian Cade's contract, the same legal trap that killed her father, every survival instinct screamed, "Run." Instead, she spoke. One sentence. That's all it took to shatter the carefully constructed lie of her existence and pull her into a war with men who erase people like her for breakfast. This is her story. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this goes. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Lena stood at the kitchen window of the Cade estate, watching water sheet down glass thick enough to stop bullets. Her reflection stared back, hollow eyes, hair pulled tight, the kind of face people looked through instead of at. Perfect. That's exactly what she'd spent 2 years building. Invisible. Forgettable. Safe. Table 6 needs water. She turned. Marcus, the head server, didn't look at her when he spoke. Nobody did. She was the quiet one. The one who never complained, never called in sick, never asked questions. In a house where asking questions could get you disappeared, that made her valuable in the only way that mattered, she was easy to ignore. Got it. Her voice came out flat. She'd practiced that. Practiced everything. The way she walked, shoulders slightly hunched, steps quick but not hurried. The way she held her face, neutral, pleasant, empty. 2 years of becoming nobody. She picked up the crystal pitcher, feeling its weight. Everything in Adrian Cade's world was heavy. The silverware, the doors, the silence that pressed down on you when he entered a room. The dining hall stretched out like something from another century. Vaulted ceilings, dark wood, windows that overlooked the city lights below. 12 men sat around the table. She knew most of their names, though they'd never bothered learning hers. Real estate developers, city officials, the kind of people who smiled at charity galas and buried their enemies in legal paperwork. Adrian sat at the head. Even sitting, he commanded the space. Dark suit, darker eyes, the kind of face that photographs well but unsettles you in person. Too controlled, too aware. People said he'd built his empire from nothing, but Lena knew better. You don't get nothing by playing fair. You get it by knowing exactly where to apply pressure until something breaks. She moved around the table, refilling glasses. Her hands stayed steady. She'd learned that too, how to be present without existing, to serve without being seen. The Henderson property, one of the men was saying. Silver hair, expensive watch. She remembered him. Councilman somebody. We'll need the environmental review fast-tracked. Already handled. That was Adrian, his voice carried without rising. Permits clear by Friday. Lena poured water into his glass. He didn't acknowledge her. Good. You're certain? The timeline's tight. This from a younger guy, nervous energy, kept checking his phone under the table. I don't deal in uncertain. The conversation moved on. Zoning variances, tax incentives, the casual corruption of men who'd learned to call theft development. Lena had heard it all before, heard it in her father's office when she was young enough to think the law actually meant something, before she learned that laws were just suggestions for people with enough money to ignore them. She finished her round and retreated to the kitchen. Her shift ended in 20 minutes. Then she could go back to her apartment, the tiny studio she rented under a name that wasn't hers, and stop pretending for a few hours. Lena, Marcus again. Mr. Cade wants you to stay for the contract signing. Extra hands. Her stomach dropped. What? You heard me. Conference room. 10 minutes. She wanted to say no. Wanted to run. But running meant questions, and questions meant attention, and attention meant someone might actually look at her face and remember where they'd seen it before. Okay. 10 minutes later, she stood in the corner of the conference room, hands clasped in front of her, trying to blend into the wallpaper. The 12 men had moved here, spreading out across leather chairs. Documents covered the long table. Contracts thick enough to kill someone if you dropped them from height. Adrian stood at the window, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what he wants. Tell him the offer expires at midnight. He ended the call without waiting for a response. Gentlemen? He turned, and the room shifted its focus to him. Let's make this quick. One of his lawyers, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain, began distributing contracts. Standard acquisition agreement, Hayward Street properties. As discussed, the consolidation gives us control of the entire block. Lena's hands went cold. Hayward Street. No. No, it couldn't be. Page 7, Clause 14. The lawyer was still talking. Addresses the existing liens and transfers. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. She couldn't see the documents from here, couldn't read the specifics, but Hayward Street. That name was acid in her mouth. Adrian reached for his pen. Everything slowed down. She saw his hand moving, saw the contract positioned perfectly for his signature, saw the lawyer nodding, the other men checking their watches, ready to leave. Saw the exact moment when everything she'd run from came screaming back. Wait! The word came out before she could stop it. 12 faces turned toward her. The temperature in the room dropped. Excuse me? The lawyer's voice could have cut glass. Lena's throat closed. She'd spoken. She'd actually spoken. Every instinct screamed at her to apologize, to back down, to disappear the way she'd taught herself to disappear. But Hayward Street, the contract, her voice shook. Page 7, Clause 14. Adrian was looking at her now, really looking, not through her, at her. You read my contracts? His tone was perfectly neutral, perfectly dangerous. No, She couldn't breathe. How do you know what's on page 7? The room waited. She could hear the rain outside, someone's phone buzzing. Her entire carefully constructed life was crumbling in real time. Because I've seen it before. The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere she'd buried 2 years ago. That clause, the way it's written, it's a trap. Silence. Then Adrian moved. 3 steps and he was in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and something sharper. He didn't touch her. Didn't need to. His presence alone was crushing. Explain. She'd forgotten how to breathe. The lien transfer, it's backdated. Looks standard, but it's not. When you sign, you're not just acquiring the properties. You're assuming responsibility for debts that don't exist yet. Debts they're going to create after you own it. That's absurd. The lawyer stepped forward. I reviewed every... Look at the date. Lena's voice was steadier now, muscle memory kicking in. The part of her that used to do this. Used to live in contracts and depositions. February 16th, that's 3 days after the original filing. Someone amended it. Hidden in the standard language, but it's there. You sign this, and in 6 months, a year, whenever they decide, they'll produce claims against those properties. Environmental violations. Code enforcement. Suddenly you owe millions in remediation you didn't know about. Adrian hadn't moved. How do you know this? Because they did it to my father. Because I watched this exact clause destroy everything he'd built. Because I held his hand when he died and the autopsy said heart attack. But I know it was shame. I just do. He stared at her. She stared back. Somewhere in the room, someone coughed. Let me see the contract. Adrian held out his hand. The lawyer hesitated, then passed it over. He flipped to page 7, eyes scanning. Lena watched his face, the small tightening around his eyes, the barely perceptible shift in his jaw. Son of a bitch. He looked up at the lawyer. She's right. The room exploded. Men talking over each other, the lawyer insisting she'd reviewed everything, someone demanding to know who the hell this waitress thought she was. But Adrian held up one hand and everyone stopped. Everyone out. Adrian, out, now. They left. The lawyer shot Lena a look that promised consequences, but she went too. In 30 seconds, the room was empty except for Lena and Adrian. He set the contract down carefully. What's your name? Lena? Your full name. She could still lie, could give him the name on her fake ID and maybe walk away from this. But he was looking at her like he already knew, like he'd figured it out the second she'd opened her mouth. Lena Voss. His expression didn't change. Voss? David Voss's daughter? Her chest tightened. You knew my father? I knew of him, real estate lawyer, supposed to be brilliant. Then he lost everything and died of a heart attack 6 months later. Adrian tilted his head. That's the official story anyway. It wasn't a heart attack. The words tasted like copper. It was giving up. They destroyed him with paperwork and lies, and he just stopped fighting. They. Adrian's voice was soft. Who's they? This was it. The moment she either walked away or burned her last bridge. Victor Hale, Martin Reese, the whole network. The names felt like poison on her tongue. My father tried to fight them, tried to expose what they were doing, the land grabs, the fraudulent liens, all of it. They buried him, disbarred him, made sure nobody would touch him. And when he died, they made sure nobody remembered him as anything but a failure and a drunk. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a chair. Sit. I should sit down. She sat. Her legs were shaking. He took the chair across from her, not at the head of the table. An equal position. How did you end up here? Where else was I supposed to go? The words came out bitter. They didn't just destroy my father. They destroyed me too. I was a lawyer, a good one. I worked for Brennan and Associates, made junior partner at 29. But when I tried to dig into what they'd done to my dad, when I started asking questions, she laughed, but there was no humor in it. Funny how fast you become unemployable. Funny how your apartment lease suddenly isn't renewable. How your bank accounts get frozen for suspicious activity. How you become invisible. So you changed your name and became a waitress in my house. Your house was hiring, and nobody looks at the help. He leaned back, studying her. You've been here 2 years. 2 years, 3 months? And in that time you never said a word, never gave any indication you were anything but nobody? She met his eyes. That was the point. Until tonight. Until tonight. The silence stretched. Rain hammered against the windows. That clause, Adrian said finally, the one you recognized. Someone used it against your father? Victor Hale, 5 years ago. My father was representing a client, small developer, trying to buy a block in the Riverside district. Hale was on the zoning board. He buried that same clause in the acquisition paperwork. My father missed it. Her voice cracked. By the time they realized his client was bankrupt, and my father took the blame. Did he know what Hale had done? He figured it out, spent a year trying to prove it. That's when they came after him. After us. She wrapped her arms around herself. They're good at it, making people disappear without actually killing them. Adrian stood, walked to the window. The city sprawled below, lights reflecting off wet streets. You saved me a lot of money tonight. I didn't do it for you. No? He glanced back at her. I did it because I saw my father's death in that contract, and I couldn't... She stopped. I couldn't watch it happen again. He turned fully, leaning against the window frame. You realize what you've done? By speaking up? Destroyed my cover, made myself visible. She stood, legs still unsteady. I should go. Where? Does it matter? Sit back down, Lena. Why? Because we're not done talking. There's nothing to... Sit down. She sat, hated herself for it, but there was something in his voice, not quite a command, not quite a request. Adrian pulled out his phone, typed something, then set it on the table between them. Tell me about Victor Hale. Why? Because I'm going to destroy him. The words hung in the air. Lena stared at him. You're... What? You heard me. Adrian's face was unreadable. That contract tonight? That wasn't a mistake. That was Victor Hale trying to take me down the same way he took down your father. He just didn't count on you. How do you... I've been watching Hale for 6 months. He's part of something bigger. A network. They've been buying up properties across the city, always through shell companies, always with these same hidden clauses. They create the debt, force bankruptcy, sweep in, and consolidate. It's brilliant. It's also theft on a massive scale. Lena's mind was racing. You knew, before tonight, you knew about the clause. I suspected. I had my people looking into it, but I couldn't prove it, not in a way that would stand up. He leaned forward. You can. I'm nobody. You said it yourself. I'm a waitress who... You're a disbarred lawyer with a personal vendetta and an encyclopedic knowledge of exactly how they operate. His eyes locked onto hers. You're not nobody. You're the weapon I've been looking for. She couldn't breathe. I can't. I'm not. Yes, you can. They'll destroy me. Again. Not if you destroy them first. You don't understand what they're capable of. Don't I? Adrian's voice went cold. I've built an empire in this city. I know exactly what men like Hale are capable of. I also know how to break them. This isn't your fight. It became my fight the second he tried to steal from me. He picked up the contract, waved it slightly. But you're right. This isn't about business. Not for you. So I'll make you a deal. What kind of deal? You help me take them down. All of them. Hale, Reese, every single person in that network. You give me your legal expertise, your knowledge, everything. In exchange, I give you resources, protection. And when this is over, when we've burned their empire to the ground, you get what you really want. What's that? Your father's name cleared, his reputation restored. Everyone who called him a drunk and a failure will know the truth, that he was murdered by men who couldn't beat him any other way. Lena's throat closed. She couldn't speak. Think about it, Adrian said quietly. You can stay invisible, keep serving drinks and dying slowly. Or you can fight. Your choice. She looked at him, really looked. Saw something she hadn't expected. Not sympathy, not pity. Recognition. Like he understood what it cost to become nobody. Why do you care? Her voice barely worked. About my father. About me. Why? He was quiet for a moment, then, because I know what it's like to be erased, and I know what it takes to come back. Someone knocked on the door. Adrian didn't look away from her. Mr. Cade? The lawyer's voice, muffled through wood. We need to discuss tomorrow. He raised his voice slightly. Leave the documents on my desk. Footsteps retreated. Lena stood. Her legs felt like water. I need time. You have until morning. That's not enough. It's all you get. Adrian stood too. Go home. Think. But know this. Hale already knows what happened tonight. Someone in this house will tell him. By tomorrow, he'll know exactly who you are. So your choice isn't whether to fight. It's whether to fight with me or alone. She walked to the door, hand on the knob. If I say yes, no going back, he finished. You become visible. Permanently. She nodded slowly. Opened the door. Lena. She paused. You were right. About the contract, about all of it. His voice softened, just slightly. Your father would be proud. The words hit her like a fist. She left before he could see her face crack. The rain had turned to mist by the time she reached her apartment. Tiny place, 4th floor walk-up, pipes that groaned when the heat came on. But it was hers, or as close to hers as someone living under a false name could claim. She locked the door, 3 locks, deadbolt, chain, and leaned against it. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. What had she done? 2 years. 2 years of careful invisibility, of swallowing her rage and her grief and her training, of being nothing so she could survive. Gone. All of it gone because she couldn't keep her mouth shut. She went to the kitchen, barely more than a counter and a hot plate, and poured whiskey into a coffee mug. Drank it standing at the window, watching the city lights blur through moisture on the glass. Her father used to love the rain, said it made everything clean. She used to believe that. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it. Nobody had this number. Nobody except... The text was short. There's a car outside your building, black sedan. They've been there for 30 minutes, watching. AK. Her blood went cold. She moved to the window, careful to stay back from the glass. Down on the street, partially hidden by a delivery truck, she could see it. Black sedan. Tinted windows. Just sitting there. Another text. Pack a bag. My driver will be there in 10 minutes. White SUV. Don't argue. They'll move once they confirm you're alone. She wanted to text back to tell him to go to hell, that she could handle herself. But her hands were already moving, pulling her go-bag from the closet. She'd kept one packed for 2 years. Old habit from law school, always ready to run. Laptop, documents, cash. The burner phone she'd never had to use, spare clothes. Her father's watch, the only thing they hadn't taken. 8 minutes later, headlights swept across her window. White SUV, just like he'd said. She was out the door before she could think about it. Down the stairs, past the broken elevator, out into the mist. The SUV's door opened as she approached. Miss Voss. The driver was older, military-bearing. I'm Thomas. Mr. Cade sent me. She got in. The door closed and the locks engaged with a heavy click. Through the rear window, she saw the black sedan pull out, following. Thomas saw her looking. Don't worry, we'll lose them. How? He took a hard right, then another. The sedan tried to follow, but Thomas moved like he'd done this before, threading through narrow streets, timing lights perfectly. 3 minutes later, they were on the highway and the sedan was gone. Where are we going? Safe house. Mr. Cade will meet you there. Lena leaned her head back against leather that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Her whole life fit in one bag. Her whole identity in one burner phone and a dead man's watch. The safe house turned out to be a penthouse in the financial district, the kind of place that required 3 separate elevator codes just to reach the right floor. Thomas led her inside, all glass and steel and furniture that looked uncomfortable but cost a fortune. Make yourself at home. Mr. Cade will be here within the hour. Then she was alone. She walked to the window. The city spread out below, lights reflecting off the river. Somewhere down there, Victor Hale was probably in his office, making calls, pulling strings. Somewhere down there, her father's grave was getting rained on. The headstone she'd scraped together money for already starting to weather. Somewhere down there, she'd died 2 years ago. Her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. You okay? She typed back. Define okay. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Fair, stay there, we have work to do. She set the phone down and poured herself another drink from the bar. Top shelf this time, because apparently when you sold your soul, you got an upgrade. The whiskey burned less than the cheap stuff. She wasn't sure if that was better or worse. An hour became 2. She'd started pacing, an old nervous habit, when the elevator chimed. Adrian walked in like he owned the place. Because he probably did. He'd lost the jacket and tie, sleeves rolled up, looking less like a crime lord and more like someone who just worked late at the office. If offices included criminal empires. You came. He said it like there'd been doubt. Your man said I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Do I? She set down her glass harder than she meant to. You said Hale would know, that I was already compromised. Sounds like choosing was done the second I opened my mouth. He moved to the bar, poured his own drink. You're angry. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He took a sip. Did you make a decision? Did I have one to make? Yes. She laughed, harsh, broken. You really believe that? You think I can just walk away now, go back to being nobody? No. But you could run, disappear, change your name again. There are places... I'm tired of running. The words came out raw. I'm tired of being invisible. I'm tired of watching men like Hale win. Then help me make them lose. She met his eyes. Why? Really? Don't give me the line about your empire or business. Why do you care? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his glass and rolled up his left sleeve. A scar ran from wrist to elbow. Not clean, not surgical. The kind of scar you get from something meant to kill you. I was 17, he said quietly. My father was a small-time contractor. Honest work. Decent man. Victor Hale was just a councilman back then, not the power player he is now. But he wanted my father's land. A lot in the warehouse district, nothing special. My father said no. Lena's stomach turned. They came at night. Made it look like a robbery. My father fought back. Adrian's voice went flat. They beat him until he couldn't stand. Made me watch. Then they made him sign the deed. Right there, on our kitchen table, blood on the paper. Adrian, he died 3 days later. Brain hemorrhage. The police said it was the robbery. Case closed. He rolled his sleeve back down. I was 17. Foster care. No money. No power. Nothing. So I learned. I built. I became someone they couldn't ignore. Someone who could hit back. The silence between them felt alive. I'm not a good man, Lena. He looked at her. I've done things that would horrify you. I've hurt people, destroyed careers. I've become exactly what I needed to become to survive in their world. But Hale, his jaw tightened. Hale, I've been waiting for. Because he's too smart, too connected. I couldn't touch him without proof, without someone who understands how he operates. Someone like me. Someone exactly like you. She picked up her glass again, drained it. The burn was familiar now. If we do this, when we do this, it won't be clean. They'll come after us with everything. I know. My mother. The words tasted like ash. She's in a care facility, early onset dementia. They could eat the... I'll have her moved. Tonight. Somewhere they can't find her. How do I know I can trust you? Adrian smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You don't. But right now, I'm all you've got. Comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to give you a chance at something you've wanted for 2 years. Revenge, justice, whatever you want to call it. He leaned forward. But I need to know if you're really in, because once we start, we don't stop. We burn it all down or we die trying. Lena thought about her father, about the way his hands had shaken when he'd tried to write, about the bottles he'd hidden around the house, about the morning she'd found him on the bathroom floor, eyes open but gone. She thought about the last 2 years, about swallowing words, about making herself small, about dying piece by piece. She thought about Victor Hale sleeping soundly in whatever mansion he owned, never paying for what he'd done. I'm in. Her voice didn't shake. But I have conditions. Name them. When this is over, when we've destroyed them, I want my law license back. I want my life back. Not the one I had, the one I should have had. Done. What else? I want the truth on record. Everything they did, to my father, to yours, to everyone. I want it documented, legal, permanent. You'll have it. She stood, walked to where he sat, looked down at him. And I want to be the one who tells Victor Hale exactly how he lost. I want to see his face when he realizes a dead man's daughter is the reason his empire is burning. Adrian stood too, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. You'll get that too. I promise. He held out his hand. She took it. His grip was firm, final. We start tomorrow, he said. I have files, evidence, everything I've been collecting. You'll need to review it all. How much? Enough to keep you busy for days, maybe weeks. Then we better get started. He almost smiled. It's 2 a.m. So? This time he did smile. You're going to fit right in. He left her with a laptop and a security code for the files, told her to get some sleep. She ignored that advice. By the time the sun came up, she'd gone through 30 files, property records, shell companies, a web of connections that made her head spin. It was exactly what she'd suspected. Worse, actually. Hale wasn't just stealing, he was systematic, organized. He had a formula. Find struggling property owners. Offer to help. Bury the trap. Wait. Collect. Rinse. Repeat. Dozens of victims. Maybe hundreds. All too scared or too broken to fight back. Her father had been one of many. She made coffee as the city woke up around her. Strong. Black. The way her father used to make it. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. Find anything? She typed back, everything. We're going to need a bigger case. Good. Come to the office. Noon. We have people to meet. What people? The kind who can help us burn it down. She showed up at 11:30. The building was downtown, glass and steel, the kind of place where the lobby alone cost more than most houses. Adrian's offices took up the top 3 floors. The receptionist looked at her like she'd tracked mud on white carpet. Probably fair. She'd dressed in the closest thing to professional she owned. Black pants, white shirt, shoes that had seen better days. Not exactly power attorney attire. Lena Voss for Mr. Cade. Do you have an appointment? Before she could answer, the elevator behind the desk opened and Adrian stepped out. He'd gone full crime lord today. 3-piece suit, cufflinks that probably cost more than her rent, presents that made everyone in the lobby straighten unconsciously. She's with me. He didn't slow down, just expected her to follow. She did. The elevator required a keycard. He swiped it and they shot upward. You look like hell, he said conversationally. Didn't sleep. Find anything useful in the files? Define useful. If you mean enough to put Hale away for life, then yes. If you mean enough that he won't have it buried or dismissed, then we need more. The elevator opened directly into a conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows, a table that could seat 20, and 3 people waiting. "Lena Voss," Adrian said, "meet the team." A woman in her 40s stood first. Sharp eyes, sharper suit. "Sarah Chen, forensic accountant. If money moved illegally, I find it." "Marcus Webb." Young guy, couldn't be more than 25, tattoos visible under his rolled sleeves. "Digital forensics. I find what people try to erase." The third person didn't stand. Older man, gray hair, expensive suit that had seen better days. His eyes went wide when he saw her. "My God, David's daughter." Her breath caught. "You knew my father?" "Robert Chen. I worked with him. Before—" He stopped. "Before everything went wrong." "Chen was at Brennan and Associates," Adrian said quietly. "He left a year after your father was disbarred." "Because they told me to," Robert said. "Told me to bury any connection to David Voss, or I'd be next." He stood slowly. "I've regretted it every day since." Lena didn't know what to say. "Robert came to me 3 months ago," Adrian continued. "Told me he had evidence. Documents your father had given him before the end. Insurance, he called it. Proof of what Hale was doing." "Why didn't you come forward?" The words came out harder than she meant. "Because I was a coward." Robert met her eyes. "Because I had a family, a career. Because I told myself it wouldn't matter, that your father was—" He stopped. "I'm not proud of it." "But you're here now." "Yes." Sarah cleared her throat. "We should get started. We have a lot to cover." They spent the next 6 hours going through everything. Sarah walked them through the financial trail, how Hale and his network had moved nearly $300 million through shell companies over the past 8 years. Marcus showed them the digital footprint, emails, texts, recorded phone calls that Hale thought were deleted. And Robert gave them the smoking gun, documents her father had compiled. Proof that Hale had knowingly, deliberately destroyed 23 different developers using the exact same scheme. "Why didn't my father use this?" Lena's voice cracked. "He had all of this. He could have—" "He tried." Robert's voice was gentle. "He went to the DA, the feds, everyone. But Hale had already poisoned the well, made your father look unstable, unreliable. By the time David had the proof, nobody would listen." "So he just gave up?" "No." Robert pulled out one more file. "He gave it to me, made me promise that if anything happened to him, I'd make sure someone knew the truth." He slid the file across the table. Inside was a letter, her father's handwriting, addressed to her. Her hands shook as she opened it. "Lena, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't be stronger, that I couldn't fight harder, that I'm leaving you with this mess. But I need you to know the truth. What they did, what Hale did, it wasn't just to me. It's happening to others, good people, people who can't fight back. And it will keep happening unless someone stops it. I tried. I failed. But you're stronger than I ever was. Smarter, better. Don't become like me. Don't let them make you small. If you can, if you're able, make them pay. Not for revenge, for justice. For all the people they've destroyed. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry I won't be there to see the lawyer you become. Dad." The words blurred. She couldn't breathe. Adrian's hand appeared in her peripheral vision, setting down a glass of water. She didn't take it. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew what would happen." "He knew what they were capable of," Robert said quietly. "But he also knew what you were capable of. He believed you'd finish what he started." She looked up. "Did he kill himself?" The question hung in the air. Robert's face crumpled. "I don't know. The autopsy said heart attack, but David, he'd been getting threats. His car had been vandalized. Someone broke into his apartment a week before he died." He paused. "I think they drove him to it. Whether they physically killed him or not, they murdered him." Lena stood, walked to the window. The city spread out below. So many people, so many lives. Hale was down there somewhere, conducting business, making deals, destroying lives with paperwork and smiles. "Tell me how we do this," she said without turning around. "Step by step." How do we make them pay? Adrian moved to stand beside her. We build a case: federal, conspiracy, wire fraud, racketeering. We don't just go after Hale, we go after everyone, the whole network. That'll take months. Yes. They'll fight back. Yes. People could get hurt. We could get hurt. Yes. He looked at her. Still in? She thought about her father's letter, about the 23 destroyed developers, about how many more there might be that they hadn't found yet. I'm in. She turned to face the room. But we do this right, legal. Everything documented, everything admissible. Because when we're done, I want them in prison, not just embarrassed, not just bankrupt, destroyed. Sarah nodded. Then we need to be careful. One mistake and they'll bury us the same way they buried your father. So we don't make mistakes. Lena moved back to the table. Marcus, I need you to secure everything, multiple backups, different locations. If they try to destroy evidence, they'll fail. I've got it. Sarah, the money trail. Can you map it all? Every company, every transaction. I want to see the whole web. Give me a week. You have 3 days. Lena looked at Robert. And you, I need you to walk me through every case my father worked, every connection, every person who might testify. Most of them are scared. Then we make them less scared than they are of Hale. She pulled out her phone, started making notes. Adrian, we need protection. For everyone involved, Robert's family, Sarah, Marcus, my mother, already arranged. And we need to go public. Eventually. Make noise. Because the second we file, Hale will try to bury it. We need it to be too big to bury. I know a reporter, Sarah said. Independent, good reputation. She's been trying to investigate Hale for years, but could never get the evidence. Then let's give her evidence. Lena looked around the table. But not yet. First we build. We document. We make this case so airtight that even Hale's lawyers can't crack it. Adrian smiled. You sound like a lawyer again. I am a lawyer. I just forgot for a while. The work consumed her. For the next 72 hours, she barely slept. Sarah's financial maps covered every wall of the conference room, a spider web of shell companies and offshore accounts. Marcus pulled up deleted files, recovered emails, built a timeline of digital evidence that would make prosecutors weep with joy. And Lena dove into the legal architecture, studied every case, every precedent, built the framework for a federal RICO case that would sweep up everyone. On the third night, Adrian found her still working at 2 a.m. You need to sleep. I need to finish this section. Lena. What? She didn't look up. He pulled out the chair next to her, sat. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You burn out now, we lose. I'm fine. You haven't showered in 2 days. She finally looked at him. How would you know? Because I've been here the whole time, watching you work yourself to death. His voice softened. Your father? Don't. She cut him off. Don't tell me what my father would want. You didn't know him. You're right. I didn't. But I know what it looks like when someone's trying to outrun grief. He leaned forward. And I know it doesn't work. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to mind his own business. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, something broke. The tears hit without warning. 2 years of holding it together, of being nobody, of swallowing rage and grief and shame, all of it came pouring out. Adrian didn't move. Didn't try to comfort her, just sat there while she fell apart. When she could finally breathe again, he handed her his pocket square. Sorry, she managed. Don't be. She wiped her face. Probably looked like hell. I miss him. Every day. And I'm so angry at him for giving up, for leaving me, for... She stopped. For making me believe we could win. Maybe you can. Or maybe I'm just setting myself up for the same fall. Maybe. Adrian stood. But at least you'll fall fighting. That's more than most people get. He left her there. She sat for a long time, staring at the files, the evidence, the carefully constructed case. Then she went back to work. By morning, they had it, the framework, the proof, the strategy. They gathered in the conference room one more time. Lena stood at the head of the table, her table now, even if she hadn't realized it. We're ready, she said. Everything's documented. Multiple copies, secure locations. Sarah, the financial trail? Complete. $347 million, 29 shell companies, all traceable back to Hale and his network. Marcus, the digital evidence. Encrypted. Backed up. Unhackable. He grinned. Well, nearly unhackable. Nothing's perfect. Robert, the witnesses? I've got 8 who'll testify. More if we need them. They're scared, but they're willing. Lena nodded. Then we file. Tomorrow. Federal courthouse. We hit them before they know we're coming. They'll retaliate, Sarah warned. The second this goes public, let them. Lena's voice was steel. We're ready. Adrian was watching her with something like approval. What happens after we file? Chaos. Media storm. Hale will deny everything. His lawyers will file motions, try to get it dismissed. Bury us in paperwork. She smiled without humor. Standard procedure, but we'll be ready. Every motion, every delay, every legal trick, we'll counter it. And when they come after you personally, they already have. What else can they take? The room was quiet. All right then. Adrian stood. We do this. Tomorrow. All in. One by one, they agreed. That night, Lena went back to the penthouse. Actually showered. Actually slept. Dreamed of her father. In the dream, he was proud. She hoped it was true. Morning came cold and clear. She dressed in the one good suit she owned, the one she'd kept in storage for 2 years, hoping she'd need it again. It still fit. She met Adrian at the courthouse. Federal building, all marble and intimidation. The kind of place where justice was supposed to happen. Sometimes it actually did. They walked up the steps together, Sarah, Marcus, and Robert behind them, a small army with a big case. At the top of the steps, Lena paused, looked back at the city. Last chance to run, Adrian said quietly. I'm done running. Good. They filed the case at 9 a.m. By 9:30, it was headline news. By 10, Victor Hale's lawyers were calling for a press conference. By noon, the war had begun. Lena's phone started ringing before they'd even left the courthouse steps. Unknown numbers, dozens of them. She silenced it and kept walking. Press is going to be rabid, Adrian said, hand on her elbow as they pushed through the growing crowd of reporters who'd materialized like vultures. Don't say anything. Not yet. Ms. Voss, is it true your father was disbarred? Mr. Cade, are you funding this lawsuit for personal gain? How much money are you asking for? Lena kept her face neutral, eyes forward. Adrian's driver had the SUV waiting at the curb, engine running. They climbed in and the doors locked with that same heavy click she was learning to associate with safety. That was faster than I expected, Sarah said from the front seat. She'd gone ahead, laptop already open. Social media's exploding. Twitter, Reddit, local news forums. Everyone's picking it up. Good. Lena watched the courthouse recede through the rear window. We want noise. We want attention. Makes it harder for Hale to make this disappear quietly. Marcus leaned forward from the third row. Guys? Hale's people just posted a statement. Already? Adrian frowned. Read it. Marcus cleared his throat. Today's frivolous lawsuit filed by disgraced former attorney Lena Voss and her associates is nothing more than a desperate attempt at relevance by individuals with documented histories of instability and criminality. Councilman Hale looks forward to his complete vindication in court and will be pursuing all available legal remedies against these baseless accusations, including criminal charges for defamation and harassment. Silence filled the SUV. Criminal charges? Lena's voice came out flat. For filing a lawsuit with documented evidence? Empty threat, Robert said, but he didn't sound convinced. They're trying to scare us. It's working, Sarah muttered. Adrian's jaw tightened. Let them threaten. We knew this was coming. Lena's phone buzzed again. This time she looked. A text from another unknown number. You just signed your death warrant. Should have stayed invisible. Her hands didn't shake when she showed it to Adrian. That surprised her. Change your number, he said immediately. Marcus, can you? Already on it. New phone, new number, encrypted. I'll have it ready in an hour. Marcus was typing rapidly. Also setting up secure communication for everyone. They're going to try to hack us, intimidate us, flood us with garbage. We need to lock it all down. The SUV pulled into an underground garage. Not Adrian's office building, somewhere else. Where are we? Lena asked. Secondary location. My building's going to be swarmed with press by now. This place is quieter. Adrian opened his door. We need to regroup, figure out next steps before Hale's team hits us with their first wave of motions. The elevator took them to a floor that looked like it had been designed for exactly this kind of situation. Conference room. Secure communications. Enough coffee to fuel a small army. They'd barely sat down when Sarah's laptop chimed. First motion just dropped, she said, scanning rapidly. Motion to dismiss, citing lack of standing, improper venue, and... She stopped. Oh, that's clever. What? Lena moved to look over her shoulder. They're arguing that because you're disbarred, you can't bring this case, that you lack the legal authority to represent yourself or anyone else in a federal RICO action. That's not... Lena's mind raced. That's not how it works. I'm not representing anyone. We hired outside counsel. The firm of Brennan and Associates is listed as... Brennan dropped you, Robert said quietly. I just got the email. They're citing conflict of interest. The room went cold. What conflict? Adrian's voice could have cut glass. Apparently, several of their current clients have business relationships with Hale. They can't represent someone actively suing him without creating ethical complications. Robert looked sick. It's bullshit, but it's legal bullshit. Lena sat down heavily. So we have no lawyer. The case we just filed is now being argued by... She stopped. By nobody. We'll find another firm, Sarah said. There are plenty of... No. Adrian's phone was ringing. He looked at the screen and his face went dark. There aren't. He answered it. What? Pause. When? Longer pause. All of them? He hung up. That was my legal team. 3 firms we approached this morning have all declined to take the case. 2 more won't return calls. He looked at Lena. Hale's already making rounds, calling in favors, making threats. Nobody wants to touch this. Then we represent ourselves, Lena said. You're disbarred. I can still assist. I can still do the work. We just need someone with an active license to be the attorney of record. Who? Robert spread his hands. I'm corporate law. I haven't set foot in a courtroom in 15 years. And even if I could, Hale would destroy me the same way he destroyed your father. The silence stretched. Then Marcus spoke up. What about Jennifer Cross? Everyone turned to look at him. Who's Jennifer Cross? Adrian asked. Independent lawyer, does civil rights work mostly. She's been trying to investigate Hale for years but never had the evidence. She wrote a whole series of articles about corruption in the city council. Marcus pulled up a website on his laptop. She's good, and she hates Hale. Lena studied the screen. Professional website. Impressive case history. A face that looked tired but determined. Has she ever handled a federal RICO case? No, but neither have you since law school. Fair point. Get her on the phone, Adrian said. Marcus made the call. It went to voicemail. He left a message. Then they waited. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. When the phone finally rang back, Marcus put it on speaker. This is Jennifer Cross. I got a very interesting message about a very interesting case. Her voice was cautious, professional. Before we go any further, I need to know, is this legitimate? Because I've been burned before by people claiming they have evidence against Hale. Lena leaned toward the phone. Ms. Cross, my name is Lena Voss. 5 years ago, Victor Hale destroyed my father using a legal scheme that we now have documented evidence he's used at least 23 times. We filed a federal RICO case this morning. We have financial records, digital evidence, and witnesses. What we don't have is a lawyer because Hale's already threatened every firm in the city. Silence on the other end. Then, send me everything, every document, every piece of evidence. I'll review it tonight. We need an answer faster than, you'll have my answer by morning. If this is real, I'm in. If it's not, I'm out and you never call me again. Deal? Lena looked at Adrian. He nodded. Deal. They spent the rest of the day compiling everything for Jennifer. Sarah's financial maps, Marcus's digital evidence, Robert's documentation, Lena's legal framework, all of it encrypted, password protected, sent through channels that would make paranoid conspiracy theorists proud. By the time they finished, it was after midnight. Go home, Adrian told the team. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be worse. Worse than today? Sarah asked. Much worse. Lena stayed behind after the others left. She stood at the window watching the city lights blur. Her eyes burned from staring at screens. Her head throbbed. But stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling, and feeling meant falling apart. "You should sleep too." Adrian's voice came from behind her. "I keep seeing his face." "Your father's?" "Hale's. In my head, I keep imagining the moment we win, when he realizes he lost, when he knows it was me." She pressed her forehead against the glass. "Is that wrong? That I want to see him break?" "No, it's human." "Doesn't feel human. Feels like something darker." He moved to stand beside her. "After my father died, I used to have these fantasies, detailed ones, about what I'd do to the men who killed him, how I'd make them suffer." He paused. "I was 17, angry, powerless. Those fantasies kept me alive." "Did you ever act on them?" "Some of them." She looked at him. "Should I ask which ones?" "Probably not." They stood in silence for a moment. "The men who killed your father," Lena said quietly. "Where are they now?" "Prison. Bankruptcy. One died of an overdose 3 years ago." Adrian's voice was flat. "But Hale walked away clean. He gave the orders, but he never touched the paperwork. Never left a trace. Smart. Until now." "Until now." Her phone buzzed, the new encrypted one Marcus had given her. A message from an unknown number. "Stop now, or what happened to David Voss will look gentle." She showed it to Adrian. "They're getting desperate," he said. "Or serious. Maybe both." He pulled out his own phone. "I'm calling security. You're not going anywhere alone anymore." "I can take care of Lena." He turned to face her fully. "Your father tried to fight them alone. Look what happened. Don't be stubborn. Be smart." She wanted to argue, but he was right. "Fine, but I'm not hiding. I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to stay alive." He made the call, spoke in low tones, then hung up. "Thomas will take you back to the penthouse. Security team will be posted outside. Anyone approaches, they handle it." "What about you?" "I'll be fine." "That's not an answer." He almost smiled. "I've been a target before. I know how to watch my back." She gathered her things, laptop, files, the new phone that felt foreign in her hand. At the door she paused. "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for this. For all of it." "Don't thank me yet. We haven't won." "But we're fighting. That's more than I had yesterday." He nodded. "Get some sleep. We're going to need you sharp tomorrow." Thomas drove her back in silence. The penthouse was exactly as she'd left it. Pristine, expensive, utterly foreign. She showered, changed into the spare clothes Marcus had bought her. Everything fit. She tried not to think about how Adrian knew her sizes. Sleep didn't come. She tried. Lay in the obscenely comfortable bed staring at the ceiling, but her mind wouldn't stop. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the case files, the evidence, the gaps they still needed to fill. At 3 a.m., she gave up, went back to her laptop, started drafting responses to the motion to dismiss. If Jennifer Cross took the case, they'd need to be ready. The sun was rising when her encrypted phone rang. Jennifer Cross. "I'm in," Jennifer said without preamble. "What you have, it's extraordinary. It's also terrifying. These men don't play nice." "I know." "I mean it. I've gone after corruption before. I've had my office broken into, my car vandalized. Once they tried to get me disbarred for ethics violations I didn't commit." She paused. "But this? This is bigger than anything I've seen. If we do this, they're going to come at us with everything." "I'm counting on it. You sound like your father. He called me once, about 6 months before he died. Wanted to talk about Hale. I thought he was paranoid, conspiracy-minded. I didn't take him seriously." Her voice cracked slightly. "I've regretted that for 5 years." Lena's chest tightened. "He reached out to you." "He reached out to everyone. I wasn't the only one who didn't listen. We all thought—" She stopped. "We thought he was broken, unreliable. We believed what Hale wanted us to believe. And now? Now I know better. Now I'm going to make sure his death meant something." Jennifer's voice hardened. "I'm filing my appearance as counsel this morning, and I'm going to destroy their motion to dismiss. But I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to write up everything you remember. Every conversation with your father, every document he showed you, every warning he gave. If there's anything at all that connects to this case, I need it. That'll take days. You have until Monday. That's when they're filing their next round of motions. I guarantee it. How do you know? Because that's what I do. Hit us fast, hit us hard, don't give us time to breathe. Jennifer paused. They're going to try to bury us in paperwork, Lena. Death by 1,000 legal cuts. We need to be faster, smarter, more prepared. We will be. I hope you're right, because if we lose this, we don't get another shot. Hale will make sure of it. They hung up. Lena stared at her laptop. Everything her father had told her, every late-night conversation, every warning he'd tried to give before the alcohol and shame had swallowed his words. She started typing. By the time Adrian called at 9 a.m., she had 40 pages. Jennifer's on board, he said. I just got off the phone with her. She's filing her appearance today. I know. We talked this morning. Did she tell you about the press conference? Lena's hand stilled on the keyboard. What press conference? Hale's holding one at noon, City Hall steps. He's going to make a statement about the lawsuit. We should be there. Jennifer said the same thing. She wants to hold our own conference right after. Hit back immediately. What do we say? The truth. That we have evidence. That we're not backing down. That this is about justice, not money. He paused. Are you ready for that? For your face to be on every news channel in the city? She thought about her father, about the last 2 years of hiding, about the woman she'd been before Hale had erased her. Yes, I'm ready. City Hall at noon was a circus, news vans, cameras, reporters jostling for position. Lena stood at the back of the crowd, Adrian beside her. Thomas and 2 other security guards created a buffer around them. Victor Hale emerged from the building right on time. He looked exactly like Lena remembered. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of face that inspired confidence. A politician's face, a liar's face. Thank you all for coming. His voice carried across the steps, warm and reasonable. I want to address the allegations that were filed yesterday. Claims made by individuals with questionable motives and documented instability. Lena's hands curled into fists. These accusations are not just false, they are defamatory. They represent a coordinated attack on my reputation, my service to this city, and my family. He paused, letting that sink in. The individual leading this charge, Ms. Lena Voss, is the daughter of a disbarred attorney who died amid serious ethical violations and substance abuse issues. The crowd murmured. Cameras turned, trying to find her. It's tragic, really. A daughter unable to accept her father's failures, lashing out at innocent people in a misguided attempt at revenge. Hale's expression was perfectly calibrated, sympathetic, concerned. I have tremendous compassion for Ms. Voss, but compassion cannot allow me to stand by while she attempts to destroy the lives and reputations of hardworking public servants. He's good, Adrian muttered. I'll give him that. To that end, Hale continued, I will be filing a countersuit, not just for defamation, but for malicious prosecution, and I will be calling for a full investigation into how these clearly fabricated documents were created and who funded this coordinated smear campaign. More murmurs. The reporters were eating it up. I have served this city for 20 years. My record speaks for itself, and I will not allow it to be tarnished by desperate individuals seeking attention and financial gain. He straightened. Thank you. I won't be taking questions at this time. He turned and walked back into the building. The reporters exploded with shouted questions, but he was already gone. Now, Jennifer Cross appeared beside them, briefcase in hand. We go. They pushed through the crowd to the steps. The reporters recognized Adrian first, hard not to when you were one of the most powerful men in the city. Then they saw Lena. The noise level tripled. Jennifer held up both hands. Statement, then questions. The cameras focused. Lena felt every lens like a physical weight. Jennifer spoke first. My name is Jennifer Cross, and as of this morning, I am the attorney of record for Lena Voss and her associates in the federal RICO case against Victor Hale and his network. Councilman Hale just spent 10 minutes character assassinating my clients while providing exactly 0 evidence to refute our claims. She pulled a folder from her briefcase. We have documentation of 23 separate incidents where Mr. Hale and his associates used fraudulent legal clauses to steal properties worth over $300 million. We have financial records showing shell companies and offshore accounts. We have digital evidence, including emails and recorded conversations. And we have witnesses ready to testify. The reporters were scribbling frantically. Mr. Hale wants to talk about credibility? Let's talk about it. My client, Miss Voss, was a junior partner at one of this city's most prestigious law firms. She was disbarred not for ethical violations, but for asking too many questions about her father's case, for threatening to expose exactly what we're exposing now. Jennifer's voice rose. Her father, David Voss, was not a drunk or a failure. He was a victim of the same scheme we're prosecuting today, and he died trying to warn people about exactly what Victor Hale was doing. She turned to Lena. Miss Voss would like to make a statement. Lena stepped forward. Every camera swung to her. She could feel Adrian behind her, solid, present. She could feel her father's letter in her pocket, the paper worn from being folded and refolded. 5 years ago, she said, and her voice only shook a little, my father came to me with evidence of corruption. He asked me to help him. I was too busy with my career, too focused on making partner. I told him I'd look at it later. The words hurt to say, but they were true. 2 weeks later, he was dead, and I spent the next 5 years believing what everyone told me to believe, that he'd failed, that he'd given up, that he'd been weak. She paused. I was wrong. He wasn't weak. He was fighting men who had spent years perfecting the art of destroying people who threatened them. Ms. Voss, is this about revenge? A reporter shouted. It's about justice. There's a difference. What about Councilman Hale's countersuit? Let him file it. Discovery goes both ways. He wants to dig into our evidence. We'll be happy to show it all in open court. Mr. Cade, another reporter, why are you involved in this? What's your interest? Adrian stepped forward. Victor Hale tried to steal from me. He buried fraudulent clauses in a contract that would have cost me millions and given him control of properties I'd spent years acquiring. Ms. Voss stopped him. So my interest is simple. I don't like being robbed. Are you funding this lawsuit? I'm providing resources to ensure these criminals face justice. Call it what you want. Councilman Hale called this a coordinated attack. Councilman Hale, Jennifer interrupted, is facing federal charges. He can spin it however he wants. The evidence doesn't care about his PR strategy. They took a few more questions. Then Jennifer called it. We'll have more to say in court. Thank you. The walk back to the SUV felt like swimming through concrete. Cameras everywhere, questions shouted from all sides. Thomas and the security team formed a wedge, clearing a path. They'd barely closed the doors when Lena's new phone rang. Unknown number. She answered it. Hello? You just made the biggest mistake of your life. The voice was male, calm, terrifying in its certainty. Withdraw the lawsuit, disappear, or we'll do to you what we did to your father, except slower. Then the line went dead. Lena's hands were shaking now. She showed the phone to Adrian. His face went dark. Marcus, can you trace that? Marcus took the phone, started typing. Already on it. Give me an hour. They drove back to the secure location. Nobody spoke. The press conference was already viral. Clips on every news site, trending on social media. The comments section was exactly what Lena expected, half calling her brave, half calling her crazy. Don't read those, Sarah said gently, watching her scroll through her laptop. They're just noise. They're calling my father a drunk. People who never met him, who only know what Hale's people fed them. Sarah closed the laptop. The truth will come out. Will it? Or will Hale bury it the way he's buried everything else? Before Sarah could answer, Marcus called out. Got something. Everyone gathered around his computer. The call came from a burner phone, but he grinned. The burner was purchased 3 weeks ago using a credit card registered to a shell company. And that shell company? It's one of the ones we've already traced back to Hale's network. Can we prove Hale knew about the call? Jennifer asked. She'd arrived while they were at the press conference, already set up with files spread across a table. Not directly, but it establishes a pattern. They're using their own infrastructure to threaten us. Marcus pulled up another screen. And look at this. The purchase was made at a store 2 blocks from Hale's private office. Security camera footage shows a man matching the description of Peter Marsh, Hale's chief of staff, buying 6 burner phones. That's not enough for criminal charges, Jennifer said, but it's enough to file a motion for a protective order. We can argue that the defendants are engaging in witness intimidation. Do it, Adrian said. Today. The faster we're on record about this, the harder it is for them to deny. Jennifer nodded. I'll have it filed by 5 p.m. Lena, I need you to write up a sworn statement about the threat. Exact words. Time. Everything you remember. Lena sat down at a laptop, typed out the words that were burned into her memory. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had shifted. The fear was still there, but it was different now. Colder. More focused. They wanted to scare her? Fine. She'd been scared for 2 years. Fear didn't work anymore. By evening, the motion was filed. By morning, it would be all over the news. Hale wouldn't be able to dismiss it as conspiracy theories anymore. Lena worked until midnight, then stumbled back to the penthouse. Thomas drove. 2 security guards followed in a second vehicle. Adrian had insisted. She was halfway through the door when her phone rang again. Different number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Lena Voss? A woman's voice. Older, shaking. Yes. Who is this? My name is Patricia Hendricks. You don't know me, but I know your father. A pause. He helped my husband 12 years ago. Pro bono work. We were about to lose our restaurant, our whole life, and David fought for us. Saved us. Lena's throat closed. Why are you calling? Because I saw the news, saw what you're doing, and I need you to know your father was a good man, the best man. What they said about him, what they did to him. Her voice broke. It wasn't true, none of it. He died trying to help people. And I never had the courage to say that out loud until now. Thank you. Lena could barely speak. Thank you for telling me. There are others, people he helped, people who remember. We've been too scared to speak up. But after today, after watching you stand there, Patricia took a shaky breath. Some of us are ready to testify. If you need us. If it would help more than you know. They exchanged information. By the time Lena hung up, she was crying. But not from grief this time. From something else. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. You okay? She typed back. Better than okay. We just got more witnesses. How many? I don't know yet, but they're coming forward. Because of today. Because we fought back. 3 dots appeared, then, told you. People just needed someone to be brave first. She looked out the window at the city. Somewhere down there, Victor Hale was probably planning his next move. Probably calling his lawyers, his allies, everyone he'd ever done a favor for. Let him. She was ready. The witnesses started coming forward on Thursday. Not all at once. Slowly, carefully, like people who'd spent years learning to be invisible, stepping back into the light. Patricia Hendricks was first. She arrived at the secure location with her husband Tom, both of them in their 60s, holding hands like they were facing a firing squad instead of a legal team. We owned a restaurant, Tom said, sitting across from Lena and Jennifer. His hands shook slightly. Marina District. Been in my family for 40 years. Then Councilman Hale's people approached us about selling, said they were redeveloping the whole block. Patricia picked up the story. We didn't want to sell. That restaurant was our life. So they made things difficult. Suddenly we had health inspections every week, code violations we'd never heard of, fines piling up. Your father showed up one day, Tom said, looking at Lena. Said he'd heard what was happening, offered to help. We couldn't pay him, barely had enough to keep the lights on. He said he didn't care. He fought them for 8 months, Patricia's voice cracked. Found irregularities in the inspection reports, proved the violations were fabricated, saved us. Jennifer was taking notes. Did you ever see documentation? Anything that showed Hale was behind it? David had files, thick ones. He showed us once, connections between the health inspector and one of Hale's companies. But Patricia stopped. After what happened to him, we were too scared to say anything. We just kept our heads down and prayed they'd forget about us. They didn't forget, Tom said quietly. 3 years ago, they came back. Different approach this time. Offered to buy the building at twice what it was worth. We took it. Got out while we still could. Where's the restaurant now? Lena asked, though she already knew the answer. Torn down. Luxury condos went up 6 months later. Hale's development company built them. Tom looked at his hands. We took their money and ran. I'm not proud of it. You survived, Jennifer said. That's what matters. But I need to know. Are you willing to testify, under oath, about what you saw, what David showed you? The couple exchanged a look. Some conversation happened silently between them. Finally, Patricia nodded. Yes, we'll testify. By Friday afternoon, they had 6 more. A contractor who'd been blacklisted after refusing to falsify building permits. A city employee who'd been fired for questioning irregularities in zoning approvals. A real estate agent who'd watched Hale's people systematically destroy her clients. Each one had the same story. Each one had been too scared to speak up. Until now. This is good, Jennifer said, reviewing the statements. Really good. But we need more. We need someone from inside Hale's operation. Someone who can testify about how the scheme actually worked. That's a suicide mission, Robert said. Anyone who worked for Hale directly. They're either completely loyal or completely terrified. Probably both. There has to be someone. Lena paced the conference room, thinking. Someone who got pushed out. Someone with an axe to grind. Or someone who kept records, Marcus said, looking up from his laptop. Insurance, like your father did. The words hit Lena like cold water. Her father had kept insurance, had given it to Robert. What if he wasn't the only one? Marcus, can you search for anyone who left Hale's employment in the last 5 years? Anyone who might have already did. Found 12 people. Most are still in the city. I've got addresses, phone numbers, current employment. He grinned. What, you think I sit around playing video games all day? Sometimes, Sarah said. Only when I'm compiling data. Multitasking. Adrian walked in, phone pressed to his ear. He looked worse than Lena had ever seen him. Tie loose, sleeves rolled up, shadows under his eyes that suggested he wasn't sleeping either. I don't care what it costs, he was saying. Find them. All of them. Yes, I understand the risks. Do it anyway. He hung up. We have a problem. The room went quiet. Hale's team filed another motion. This one's asking the judge to seal all evidence pending a hearing on whether we obtained it legally. That's absurd, Jennifer said. Everything we have came from legitimate sources, public records, voluntary witnesses. They're claiming we hacked their servers, that Marcus illegally accessed private communications. Adrian's jaw was tight. They've got an affidavit from their IT department saying they detected unauthorized access 3 weeks ago. Everyone turned to look at Marcus. He held up both hands. I didn't touch their servers, I swear. Everything I pulled came from deleted files on devices that were sold or thrown away. Perfectly legal. Can you prove that? Jennifer asked. Yeah, I documented everything. Every device, where it came from, chain of custody. I'm paranoid about this stuff for exactly this reason. He was already pulling up files. But if their IT department is claiming there was a breach, they're manufacturing evidence, Lena said. Creating a hack that didn't happen so they can claim our evidence is tainted. That's a serious accusation, Jennifer warned. We'd need proof. Then let's get proof. Adrian pulled out his phone. I know someone. Best cybersecurity expert in the city. If Hale's people fabricated a hack, she'll be able to prove it. She? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Diane Chen, no relation to Robert. She used to work for the FBI before going private. She's expensive, but she's the best. How expensive? Jennifer asked. Does it matter? To me, yes. I need to know if we can afford... I'm covering it. Adrian's tone left no room for argument. Money isn't the issue. Time is. If the judge grants their motion to seal the evidence, we're done. The whole case collapses before we even get to trial. Jennifer's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. It's Judge Morrison's clerk. The motion hearing is scheduled for Monday morning. That's 3 days, Robert said. We need at least a week to... They're pushing fast because they know we're not ready. Hale probably has Morrison in his pocket anyway. Adrian started pacing. We need a different strategy, something they won't see coming. Lena's mind was racing. Monday morning. 3 days to prove Marcus didn't hack anything, that Hale's IT department was lying. that their evidence was legitimate. 3 days to save the entire case. What if we don't play defense? The words came out before she'd fully formed the thought. Everyone looked at her. Explain, Adrian said. They're accusing Marcus of hacking their servers. Fine. Let's subpoena their servers. Force them to produce the logs they're claiming show the breach. If they're lying, the logs won't exist, or they'll be fabricated. Either way, we can prove it. Jennifer was nodding slowly. That's risky. If the logs look legitimate, they won't, because Marcus didn't do it, which means any logs they produce are fake. And if we can prove they're fake, we can argue they're manufacturing evidence. That goes to credibility, makes everything else they say suspect. I like it, Marcus said. Diane can analyze their logs. She's testified in federal court before. Her word carries weight. It's aggressive, Jennifer said, but it might work. I'll draft the subpoena tonight. File it first thing Monday morning before the hearing. Do it, Adrian said. What else? Sarah cleared her throat. I found something in the financial records. I wasn't sure if it mattered, but she pulled up a spreadsheet. 3 months ago, there was a large transfer from one of Hale's shell companies to a judge's campaign fund. $200,000. The room went cold. Which judge? Jennifer's voice was very quiet. Judge Catherine Morrison. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Finally, Jennifer said, We need to file a motion to recuse. If Hale's been funding her campaigns, can we prove it? Adrian asked. Campaign contributions aren't illegal. She could claim she didn't know the source. The timing is suspicious. The contribution came right after we started poking around, right before she was assigned our case. Sarah highlighted another transaction. And look at this. There's a second transfer. Same amount. Different shell company. Both hit her campaign fund within a week of each other. That's $400,000, Robert said. For a city judgeship? That's not normal campaign finance. That's a payoff. Can we connect the shell companies directly to Hale? Jennifer was already taking notes. Give me until Sunday night, Sarah said. I'll trace every transaction, build the map, but I'm 90% sure I can prove these companies are controlled by Hale's network. Make it 100%, Adrian said. We only get one shot at this. We accuse a sitting judge of corruption, we better be damn sure. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Ms. Voss? A male voice, young, nervous. My name is David Park. I used to work for Councilman Hale. I saw the news. I think I can help. Her heart hammered. Where are you? I'd rather not say over the phone. Can we meet? When? Tonight. There's a coffee shop on Maple Street, the one near the university, 9 o'clock. I'll be there. Come alone, please. If Hale's people see you with lawyers I'll come alone. She hung up before he could hear the lie. Adrian was already shaking his head. No, absolutely not. He's scared. If I show up with security, if you show up alone, you could disappear. We've already had death threats. This could be a setup. Or it could be the inside source we need. Lena met his eyes. I'm going, with or without backup. Your choice is whether you know where I am or not. That's not a choice. That's manipulation. Call it what you want. They stared at each other. The room watched like spectators at a tennis match. Finally, Adrian said, Fine, but Thomas drives you, and I'm in the coffee shop before you get there. You don't know me, I don't know you, but I'm there. Deal. The coffee shop was exactly the kind of place college kids went to pretend they were studying while actually scrolling through social media. Busy enough for anonymity. Public enough to be safe. Theoretically. Adrian was already there when Lena arrived, sitting in the back corner with a laptop open, looking like any other person working late. He didn't look up when she entered. David Park was easy to spot. Mid-20s, rumpled suit, the kind of face that looked like it hadn't slept in a week. He sat at a table near the window, coffee cup gripped in both hands. Lena bought a tea she didn't want and sat down across from him. Thank you for coming, David said. His eyes kept darting to the door. I wasn't sure you would. You said you could help. I can, maybe. I don't know. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm probably making the biggest mistake of my life. Well, why are you here, David? He took a shaky breath. I worked in Hale's office for 3 years. Administrative assistant. low level, the kind of person nobody notices, which meant I saw everything. What did you see? The way it worked, the shell companies, the property acquisitions, the payoffs. He pulled out a flash drive, set it on the table between them. I kept copies. Not of everything, but enough. Lena stared at the flash drive. Why? Because I knew it was wrong. Because I watched them destroy people and His voice cracked. I did nothing. I just kept filing paperwork and answering phones and pretending I didn't see. What changed? I saw your press conference, saw you standing there talking about your father, and I realized I could have been one of the people he tried to warn. I could have helped him. Instead, I helped the people who killed him. Tears were running down his face now. I can't take that back, but maybe I can help you. Lena reached for the flash drive. David's hand shot out, covering it. Wait, you need to understand something. If Hale finds out I gave you this, if he even suspects, he'll destroy me. And I don't mean career-wise, I mean actually destroy. There are things on here, things about people he's hurt, people who disappeared. Disappeared? There was a journalist 5 years ago. She was investigating Hale, getting close. She died in a car accident, single-car collision. They said she was drunk. David's hand was shaking. But I saw the emails, the discussions about handling the problem, the payment to someone. I don't know who. And then 2 days later, she's dead. The coffee shop felt too warm, too loud. Lena could feel Adrian's presence across the room like a physical weight. Do you have proof of the payment, the emails? It's on the drive, along with everything else. He pushed it across the table. Take it, use it, just promise me something. What? When this is over, when you've won, remember that not everyone who worked for him was evil. Some of us were just scared. Some of us just wanted to survive. I'll remember. He stood abruptly. I need to go. If I'm gone too long... David? She grabbed his wrist. We'll protect you. We can put you in a safe house, get you out of the city until... No. If I disappear, he'll know. I have to go back. Pretend nothing happened. Act normal. He pulled free gently. Just make it count. Make sure he pays. Then he was gone, pushing through the door into the night. Lena sat there, the flash drive burning in her palm. Adrian appeared at her elbow seconds later. Did you get it? She held up the drive. What's on it? Everything. Maybe. He mentioned emails, payments, a dead journalist. She looked up at him. Adrian, if this is real, if he's telling the truth, we're not just looking at corruption. We're looking at murder. His face went hard. Then we better make damn sure we have protection. Come on. Marcus needs to see this, tonight. They were back at the secure location by 10 p.m. Marcus had the flash drive plugged in before Lena had even taken off her coat. Encrypted, he said, fingers flying across the keyboard. But it's a standard algorithm. Give me a minute. The minute turned into 10, then 20. Lena paced. Adrian made phone calls in the corner. Jennifer arrived, summoned by a text, still in her gym clothes. What's going on? She demanded. We have a source. Inside Hale's operation, he gave us... Lena gestured to Marcus. We don't know yet. I'm in. Marcus's voice was tight. Oh my God, I'm in. They crowded around the screen. Files. Hundreds of them. Spreadsheets, emails, scanned documents, photos. Marcus opened an email at random. It was from someone named Peter Marsh, Hale's chief of staff, to Hale himself. The subject line read, Henderson problem resolved. The email read, payment processed through usual channels. Asset confirmed disposed. Local authorities satisfied with accident report. No loose ends. The date was 5 years ago, the month the journalist died. Lena's hands went cold. Open the payment records. Marcus pulled up a spreadsheet. There it was, a payment of $50,000, listed as consulting fees, sent to a company called Blackstone Security Solutions. Find out who owns Blackstone, Adrian said quietly. Marcus was already typing. It's a private military contractor, or it was. They dissolved 3 years ago. But the owner, he pulled up a record. The owner was a guy named Vincent Torres, former Special Forces, multiple assault charges. Did time for manslaughter in 2018. Where's he now? Jennifer asked. According to public records, dead. Died in a prison fight 2 years ago. The room went silent. Convenient, Sarah said. Too convenient. Adrian's jaw was tight. They paid him to kill the journalist, then had him killed in prison to tie up the loose end. We can't prove that, Jennifer warned. This is all circumstantial. The email doesn't explicitly say. The email says asset disposed. What the hell else does that mean? Lena's voice was rising. She forced herself to breathe. We need more. What else is on here? Marcus spent the next 2 hours combing through the files. By midnight, they had a picture that made Lena's stomach turn. 23 property acquisitions using the fraudulent clause scheme. Financial records showing over $400 million flowing through shell companies. Emails discussing problem individuals who needed to be handled. Payments to judges, city officials, police officers. And photos. Dozens of them. Surveillance photos of people. Some Lena recognized. Developers who'd fought back against Hale's schemes. Some she didn't. This is a kill list, Marcus said quietly. These are people they were watching, tracking. One photo made Lena's blood freeze, her father, sitting in his car outside a coffee shop. The date stamp was 2 weeks before he died. They were following him, she whispered. Adrian's hand found her shoulder, squeezed once. There's more. Marcus opened another folder. Audio files, recordings of phone conversations. He played one. Hale's voice, unmistakable, talking to someone about a property deal, discussing how to encourage the owner to sell. The methods suggested weren't legal. How did David get all this? Jennifer asked. This isn't stuff an administrative assistant would have access to. Hale trusted him, Lena said, trusted him to be invisible, to not ask questions, and David used that, collected everything he could. Which means when Hale realizes what's missing, Sarah didn't finish the sentence. We need to get David out, Lena said. Now, tonight. Before her phone rang, David Park's number. She answered. David? Silence. Then breathing, heavy, labored. David, are you okay? They know. His voice was barely a whisper. I don't know how, but they know. There are men outside my apartment. I can see them from my window. Get out, right now. Is there a back exit? Fire escape. But it leads to an alley. And use it. We're sending people. Stay on the phone. Adrian was already texting. Thomas and the security team were close, maybe 10 minutes away. I'm scared, David said. I know, but you need to move. Now. Go to the fire escape. We'll meet you. She could hear him moving, the sound of a window opening, metal creaking. I'm on the fire escape. It's dark. I can't see. Glass shattered. David screamed. David! They're inside. The phone went dead. Lena was already running for the door. Adrian caught her arm. You're not going there. He called me. He asked for help, and you can't help him if you're dead. Thomas is 3 minutes out. Let him handle it. She wanted to argue, wanted to scream, but he was right. They stood there listening to her phone ring, David's number. She answered. Ms. Voss. Not David's voice. Older. Calm. Your friend is indisposed at the moment, but he asked me to give you a message. Who is this? Someone who's been cleaning up Hale's messes for a very long time. And you, Ms. Voss, are a mess. A pause. Withdraw the lawsuit. Disappear. Or what happened to your father will seem gentle compared to what happens to everyone you love. Put David on the phone. I'm afraid he can't come to the phone right now. He's busy learning what happens to people who betray their employers. The line went dead. Lena sank into a chair. Her whole body was shaking. Adrian's phone rang. Thomas. He answered on speaker. We're at the address, doors broken in, signs of a struggle. Blood on the floor, but no body. Whoever was here is gone. Sweep the building, check security cameras. I want everything. Already on it. Adrian hung up, looked at Lena. I'm sorry. He came to us for help. We were supposed to protect him. We tried. We failed. She stood, the chair skittering backward. Just like everyone failed my father. Just like everyone's failed everyone. Hale's ever targeted. We talk about justice and protection and standing up, but when it matters, Lena, don't tell me it's going to be okay. Don't tell me we did what we could. A man is gone because he tried to help us. Then we make his evidence count. Adrian's voice was steel.
We take what he gave us, and we burn Hale's entire empire to the ground. That's how we honor him.
Jennifer stepped forward.
Adrian's right. The flash drive, this is everything we needed. Financial records, emails, audio recordings. With this, we can prove conspiracy. Racketeering, maybe even murder.
If it's admissible, Robert said quietly.
If David disappears, if he's dead, we can't authenticate the evidence. Can't prove chain of custody. A defense attorney will tear it apart. Marcus can authenticate it, Sarah said. He's got the digital forensics, can prove when the files were created, who created them. That's something.
It's not enough. Jennifer was pacing now. We need David alive. We need him to testify that he collected this material, that it's genuine. Without him, then we find him. Lena's voice cut through the arguments. Thomas said there was no body, which means he's alive, somewhere, and we find him before they kill him. How? Marcus asked. They could have him anywhere. Could have already moved him out of the city. Track his phone. Already tried. It's off or destroyed, Lena thought. Tried to push past the panic and fear. David had worked for Hale for 3 years. He'd know things, places they'd use, people they'd call. The audio files, she said suddenly, the ones David recorded, were there any that mentioned locations, places where they met, safe houses? Marcus pulled up the files, started playing through them, fast-forwarding, listening. Here. He stopped on one. Hale's voice talking about a warehouse property in the industrial district, mentioning it as secure for sensitive meetings. Address? Adrian demanded. Marcus pulled it up. 1260 Riverside, owned by, he checked, one of the shell companies. Blackwell Holdings. That's on Sarah's list, Robert said, checking the financial maps. Purchased 4 years ago, no business activity, property taxes paid but otherwise dormant. Adrian was already moving. Thomas, meet us at the garage. Full team. We're going to Riverside. Adrian, wait. Jennifer grabbed his arm. If you're wrong, if this is a trap, then it's a trap. But if David's there and we don't go, he didn't finish. Lena was already at the door. I'm coming. No, I'm coming. David called me, trusted me. I'm not sitting here while you Fine. Adrian's eyes were hard. But you stay in the vehicle. You don't move unless I say so. Understand? She nodded. They took 2 SUVs, Thomas driving the first with Adrian, Lena, and 2 security guards. The second vehicle followed with 4 more guards, all armed, all serious. The drive to the industrial district took 20 minutes that felt like hours. Lena watched the city slide past the windows, thought about David's face in the coffee shop, the way his hands had shaken. The flash drive that was currently encrypted and locked in 3 different secure locations because they'd learned from her father's mistake. No single point of failure. The warehouse was exactly what she'd expected. Abandoned looking, windows dark, a chain-link fence with a gate that hung open like a broken tooth. Thomas killed the headlights before they turned onto the street, approached slowly. The building loomed against the night sky. Someone's here, one of the guards said quietly. 2 vehicles, backloading dock. Adrian pulled out his phone. We need backup, real backup, police. You want to call the cops? Lena asked. Some of them are on Hale's payroll. Not all of them. I know someone. Detective who's been trying to build a case against Hale for years. Never had enough evidence. He dialed, spoke quietly. Detective Barnes? It's Adrian Cade. I have a location, evidence, and possibly a hostage situation. He gave the address. How fast can you get here? A pause. 15 minutes. We need to move before then or David's dead. He hung up, looked at Thomas. Can your team secure the building? If we're quiet, if we're lucky. Thomas didn't sound optimistic. Do it. Lena stays here. Like hell. Lena, if David's in there, if he's hurt, you'll need someone he trusts, someone who can talk him down. That's me. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he just said, stay behind me. Don't do anything stupid. They moved in silence. Thomas and 4 guards went first, spreading out, using the vehicles and debris as cover. Adrian followed with Lena right behind him. 2 more guards flanked them. The loading dock door was slightly open.
Light spilled through the crack. Voices from inside. Thomas held up a fist. Everyone stopped. One of the guards edged closer, peered through the gap, then reported back in hand signals. Lena couldn't read them, but Adrian's face went dark. "How many?" he whispered. The guard held up 3 fingers. 3 men inside, maybe more they couldn't see. Thomas gestured to his team. They moved like a machine, coordinated, silent, professional. 2 guards went around to a side entrance. 2 more positioned at the loading dock. "On my mark," Thomas breathed. Before he could give the signal, someone inside screamed. "David!" Lena was moving before she could think. Adrian grabbed for her, but she was already through the door, into the warehouse, and what she saw made her stomach heave. David was tied to a chair in the center of an empty space. His face was bloody, one eye swollen shut. 3 men stood around him, one holding a baseball bat. "Stop!" Lena's voice echoed in the empty space. All 3 men turned. The one with the bat smiled. "Ms. Voss, how thoughtful of you to join us." Then everything happened at once. Thomas and his team burst through both entrances. The men reached for weapons. Someone shouted. A gunshot cracked through the air, and Lena hit the concrete floor, Adrian's weight covering her. More shots. Shouts. The sound of bodies hitting ground. Then silence. Adrian pulled her up. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, ears ringing. Thomas was checking the 3 men. All down. All breathing, but not fighting. His team had moved with surgical precision. Lena ran to David, his head lolled forward, but his chest was rising and falling. Alive. "Get him down," she said, working at the ropes with shaking hands. Adrian helped. Together they lowered David to the floor. His eyes flickered open. "Lena? I'm here. You're okay. You're going to be okay. The drive, did you—" "We got it. We have everything. You did it." He tried to smile, but his split lip made it more grimace. "Good. That's good." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "Police are coming," Adrian said. "Detective Barnes. She's clean. You can trust her." David nodded weakly. "There's more. Things I didn't put on the drive. Things I couldn't risk. Tell me later. Right now, just my apartment, behind the bathroom mirror. Another drive. Backup of everything, plus files on the judge. Morrison. Proof she's been taking money for years." Lena's breath caught. "You have proof?" "Bank records, emails. Everything you need to get her recused." His eyes closed. "Use it. Finish this." The police burst through the door, weapons drawn. Detective Barnes was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything and been impressed by none of it. She took in the scene, the 3 unconscious men, David beaten and barely conscious, Adrian and Lena and Thomas's security team. "Someone want to tell me what the hell is going on here?" Adrian spoke first, his voice remarkably calm considering they were surrounded by armed police officers and 3 bleeding men on the floor. "Detective Barnes, thank you for coming so quickly." Barnes holstered her weapon, but her eyes stayed sharp, cataloging every detail. "Mr. Cade, you said hostage situation. You didn't mention you'd already handled it." "Things move faster than anticipated." "I can see that." She knelt beside one of the unconscious men, checked his pulse, then keyed her radio. "I need 3 buses to 1260 Riverside. Multiple injuries. And get me a crime scene unit." She stood, looking at David. "Someone want to tell me who this is and why he looks like he went 10 rounds with a cement mixer?" Lena stayed beside David, one hand on his shoulder. "His name is David Park. He worked for Councilman Victor Hale. These men kidnapped him from his apartment 2 hours ago and brought him here to—" Her voice caught. "To torture him, because he came to us with evidence of corruption." Evidence. Barnes's tone was carefully neutral. "What kind of evidence?" "The kind that proves Hale's been running a criminal enterprise for over a decade." Adrian pulled out his phone. "I can have our attorney send you—" "Don't." Barnes held up a hand. "Not yet. First, I need statements from everyone here. Then I need to process this scene. Then, and only then, we talk about evidence and cases and whatever federal circus you people are building." Paramedics arrived, pushing past the police line. They went to David first. Lena moved aside reluctantly, watching them work. His vitals were stable, they said. Broken ribs, probably. Concussion, definitely. But he'd live. The 3 men who'd been beating him were treated next, then loaded into ambulances under police guard. Lena watched them go and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just a hollow numbness that scared her more than rage would have. Barnes separated them for statements. Lena sat in the back of a police cruiser, door open, and told a detective everything. How David had called her, the coffee shop meeting, the flash drive, the phone call, finding him here. The detective took notes without expression. And you decided to mount a rescue operation instead of calling police because some of your officers are on Hale's payroll. Because we didn't know who to trust. Because David was screaming and we didn't have time. That's not how this works, Ms. Voss. Maybe it should be. The detective closed his notebook. Stay available. We'll have more questions. By the time they finished with everyone, it was after 3 a.m. Barnes pulled Adrian and Lena aside, away from the others. All right, scene's processed. Statements are taken. Now you're going to tell me what the hell is really going on. They told her. Not everything. Jennifer had been clear about protecting certain evidence until it was properly filed. But enough. The federal RICO case, the financial crimes, the pattern of property theft, David's role, what he'd given them. Barnes listened without interrupting. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. I've been trying to build a case against Hale for 6 years, she said finally. Every time I get close, evidence disappears. Witnesses recant. Files go missing. I've watched him destroy good people and walk away clean. She looked at Lena. Your father came to me once, about 8 months before he died. Said he had proof of corruption. I told him I'd look into it. Lena's chest tightened. And by the time I tried to follow up, he was gone. Dead. And all his files had been seized by the DA's office during the disbarment proceedings. I never saw them. Barnes's jaw tightened. I should have moved faster. Should have listened when it mattered. You're listening now, Adrian said quietly. Yeah, I am. Barnes pulled out her own phone. I'm going to do something that could cost me my career, but I'm tired of watching this man destroy everything he touches. She made a call. Captain, it's Barnes. I need to talk to you, now. No, it can't wait. It's about the Hale case. She walked away, voice dropping too low to hear. Think she'll help? Lena asked. I think she's tired of losing, Adrian said. Same as us. Thomas approached, phone in hand. Got word from the hospital. David's conscious, asking for you, Miss Voss. They drove to the hospital in silence. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of gray and pink. Lena watched it through the window and thought about her father, about all the dawns he'd never see. David was in a private room on the 4th floor, 2 police officers stationed outside. His face was a canvas of bruises, one eye swollen completely shut, but he was alive. Hey, he managed when Lena entered. His voice was rough. You came. Of course I came. She pulled a chair close. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. Then the truck backed up and hit me again. He tried to smile. But alive. Thanks to you. Thanks to Thomas and his team. I just ran in screaming. You came for me. Nobody's ever... He stopped, swallowed hard. Nobody's ever done that before. Adrian stood at the door, giving them space. The second flash drive, the one behind your bathroom mirror. Do you want us to retrieve it, or... It's already gone. David's good eye found him. I had a friend grab it this morning, someone I trust. She's bringing it to your office at noon. Smart, Adrian said, covering your bases. I learned from watching Hale. Always have backup. Always have insurance. David winced as he shifted position. The files on that drive, the ones about Judge Morrison, they're damning. Bank statements showing deposits that match exactly with Hale's shell company transfers. Emails discussing arrangements for favorable rulings. It's all there. Can you testify to how you obtained them? Lena asked. Yes. I was the one who processed the payments. Hale had me handle his sensitive financial transactions. Thought I was too scared to ever use the information. He laughed, then gasped in pain. He was right, until he wasn't. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand. Mr. Park needs rest. You can visit again this evening. They left him there, protected by police who Barnes had personally vouched for. The drive back to the secure location felt surreal. Lena kept expecting something else to go wrong. Another attack, another threat. But the city just woke up around them like it was any other Sunday morning. Jennifer was waiting when they arrived, looking like she hadn't slept at all. I heard. Is David okay? Alive, talking, has a second flash drive with evidence on Morrison. Lena collapsed into a chair. His friend's bringing it at noon. Good, because I've been working on the motion to recuse all night. If we can prove Morrison's been taking money from Hale, we can get her off the case. Get a judge who isn't compromised. And if we can't prove it? Robert asked. He'd arrived sometime during the night, looked as exhausted as the rest of them. Then we're going to trial in front of a judge who's already decided we lose. Jennifer rubbed her eyes. The hearing's tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We need that second drive verified and incorporated into our motion by tonight. Marcus can do it, Sarah said. Once we have the files, he can authenticate them. Build the timeline. Make it bulletproof. The next few hours blurred together. David's friend arrived exactly at noon, a nervous young woman who handed over the flash drive without saying a word and left immediately. Marcus plugged it in, started his analysis. Sarah began mapping the financial connections. Robert pulled case law on judicial recusal. Lena tried to help, but her brain felt like static. Too many hours awake. Too much adrenaline crash. She found herself staring at her father's letter, reading it for the 100th time. You need to sleep. Adrian's voice startled her. She hadn't heard him approach. Can't. Too much to do. There's always too much to do. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. I'm fine. You're running on fumes and rage. It's not sustainable. She looked up at him. How do you do it? Stay focused when everything's falling apart. He sat down across from her. I compartmentalize. Put the fear in a box, the anger in another box, everything else in its own container, then I only open one box at a time. That sounds incredibly unhealthy. It is, but it works. He leaned forward. Your father's letter. You keep reading it. What are you looking for? I don't know. Permission? Forgiveness? She folded it carefully. He said I was stronger than him, smarter, but I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. That's what strength looks like, holding it together when everything's telling you to break. He paused. My father used to say that courage isn't not being afraid, it's being terrified and doing it anyway. Your father sounds like he was a good man. He was, right up until they killed him for it. Adrian's voice went flat. I spent years being angry at him for that, for not fighting dirty, for trying to do things the right way when the other side was playing without rules. Do you still feel that way? Sometimes. But mostly I'm just angry he's gone. He stood. Get some sleep, Lena. Even 2 hours will help. We need you sharp tomorrow. She wanted to argue, but exhaustion was winning. She stumbled to the small room they'd set up with a couch and blankets, collapsed onto it, and was asleep before she could think about nightmares. She woke to someone shaking her shoulder. Marcus. We've got it, he said, laptop in hand. Everything. Morrison's been on Hale's payroll for 8 years. 15 separate payments totaling over $2 million. All laundered through shell companies, but the pattern's unmistakable. Lena sat up, brain struggling to catch up. What time is it? 7 p.m. You slept for 6 hours. Jennifer needs you in the conference room. We're finalizing the motion. The motion to recuse Judge Catherine Morrison was 73 pages long. Jennifer had built it like a fortress. Every claim supported by 3 sources, every transaction documented, every timeline verified. The evidence from David's drives formed the backbone, but Sarah's financial analysis and Marcus's digital forensics made it irrefutable. This is solid, Robert said, reviewing the final draft. Really solid. But we're accusing a sitting judge of corruption. When we file this tomorrow, there's no going back. Good, Lena said. I'm tired of going back. They worked until midnight, polishing every word, checking every citation. By the time they finished, Lena's eyes burned and her head throbbed, but the motion was perfect. Get some actual sleep, Jennifer ordered. All of you. Tomorrow's going to be brutal. Lena went back to the penthouse, actually showered, actually ate something, tried to sleep in an actual bed but kept seeing David's beaten face, her father's grave, the 3 men in the warehouse. At 4 a.m., she gave up, made coffee, stood at the window watching the city sleep. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. Can't sleep either? She typed back up, too much in my head. Want company? She hesitated, then, yeah, actually, I do. He arrived 20 minutes later. No security detail, no driver, just him, looking as exhausted as she felt. I walked, he said at her questioning look. Needed to clear my head. Is that safe? Probably not, but I was going crazy sitting alone with my thoughts. She poured him coffee. They stood at the window together, watching the city lights. Tomorrow, Adrian said quietly, we go to war. Really go to war. Morrison will fight the recusal. Hale's lawyers will fight everything. It's going to get ugly. I know. And there's something I need to tell you before it all goes to hell. He turned to face her. When this is over, if we win, I'm done. Done with what? This, all of it. The empire. The criminal enterprise I built to survive in their world. He set down his coffee cup. I told you once that I became exactly what I needed to become. And I did. I hurt people, broke laws, did things I can't take back. I told myself it was necessary, that it was survival. But working on this case, watching you fight for something that actually matters, he stopped. I don't want to be that person anymore. Lena stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying that when we take down Hale, I'm going to start taking apart my own operation, piece by piece. Make things right where I can, accept consequences where I can't. He met her eyes. I'm saying I want to be someone your father would have approved of. Her throat closed. Adrian? You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know, before tomorrow, before everything changes. They stood there in silence as the sun started to rise, and for the first time in years, Lena felt something that wasn't rage or grief or fear. Something that felt dangerously like hope. The courthouse steps were packed by 8:30 a.m. News crews, protesters, people who'd been hurt by Hale's schemes holding signs, people who supported him shouting about witch hunts. Lena pushed through with Jennifer on one side and Adrian on the other. Thomas and his team created a corridor. Cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. She kept her face neutral, eyes forward. Inside, the hallways were quieter, but no less tense. Hale's legal team was already there. 6 lawyers in expensive suits, briefcases that probably cost more than Lena's car used to. They watched her walk past with expressions that promised blood. Judge Morrison's courtroom was on the 3rd floor, large, imposing. The kind of room designed to remind you that justice was serious business. They took their seats at the plaintiff's table. Hale sat across the aisle with his lawyers, looking remarkably calm for a man whose empire was crumbling. He caught Lena's eye and smiled. Not a nice smile. The smile of someone who thought he'd already won. All rise? Judge Morrison entered. She was 60, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain, the kind of judge who looked like she'd dedicated her life to the law. And maybe she had, before Hale had bought her. Be seated. She settled into her chair, surveyed the courtroom. We have several motions to address this morning. I understand emotions are running high, but I expect professional conduct from all parties. Is that clear? Murmurs of agreement. Good. First matter. Motion to seal evidence pending a hearing on acquisition methods. Ms. Cross, I understand you filed an opposition? Jennifer stood. We have, Your Honor, and we've also filed a motion to recuse you from this case. The courtroom went silent. Morrison's expression didn't change. I beg your pardon? A motion to recuse, based on financial conflicts of interest and improper communications with the defendants. Jennifer's voice was steady. We're requesting an immediate hearing on this matter before proceeding with any other motions. This is outrageous. One of Hale's lawyers, a man named Richard Sterling, shot to his feet. A transparent attempt to manipulate the judicial process, to shop for a more favorable judge. It's a legitimate motion based on documented evidence, Jennifer fired back. Evidence we're prepared to present right now. Morrison's face had gone very still. You're accusing me of impropriety. We're presenting evidence that raises serious questions about your ability to remain impartial in this case, Your Honor. Let me see this motion. The clerk handed it up. Morrison read in silence. The courtroom held its breath. Lena watched the judge's face, saw the moment she realized how much they knew. A flicker, just a flash. But it was there. These allegations are baseless, Morrison said, but her voice had changed, lost some of its authority. I have never accepted improper payments or communications from any party. Then you'll have no objection to us presenting our evidence, Jennifer said. I object strenuously, Sterling said. This is a fishing expedition designed to… Mr. Sterling. Morrison cut him off. Quiet. She looked at Jennifer. You have evidence? Present it. Now. Jennifer nodded to Marcus. He opened his laptop, connected it to the courtroom's display system. Financial records appeared on the screen. Bank statements. Deposit records. Shell company transfers. Your Honor, Jennifer began, over the past 8 years you've received 15 separate deposits totaling $2.1 million. The payments came from various sources: consulting fees, speaking engagements, gifts from family members, all legitimate on the surface. Morrison's hands gripped her desk. If these payments were legitimate, they were legitimate. The sources weren't. Jennifer nodded, and Marcus changed the display. Each payment traces back to shell companies controlled by Victor Hale's network. The consulting fees? From a company that doesn't actually employ consultants. The speaking engagements? At events that never happened. The family gifts? From a cousin who died 3 years before the payments began. Gasps from the gallery. Morrison had gone pale. Furthermore, Jennifer continued, we have emails between you and Peter Marsh, Mr. Hale's chief of staff, discussing arrangements for cases involving Hale's interests, discussing rulings before they were issued, discussing, and I quote, ensuring favorable outcomes in exchange for continued support. Those emails are fabricated, but Morrison's voice shook. We have them authenticated by 3 separate digital forensic experts. We have metadata. We have server logs. We have your signature on the digital certificates. Jennifer's voice was like iron. Your Honor, with all due respect, you've been on Victor Hale's payroll for nearly a decade. You cannot preside over this case. The courtroom erupted. Morrison hammered her gavel. Order! I will have order! But the damage was done. Cameras in the back were broadcasting live. Reporters were typing frantically. Morrison looked at Hale, and Lena saw something pass between them. Fear. Rage. The realization that they were losing. I'm calling a recess, Morrison said. 30 minutes. When we return, Your Honor. An unfamiliar voice from the back of the courtroom. Everyone turned. A woman in her 50s strode down the aisle. Federal badge clipped to her belt. Special Agent Carol Martinez, FBI. I have a warrant for your arrest, Judge Catherine Morrison. The courtroom exploded again. Morrison stood, face ashen. This is absurd. You can't… Conspiracy to commit bribery, obstruction of justice, wire fraud. Martinez approached the bench, 2 agents behind her. You have the right to remain silent. I know my rights. Morrison's voice was barely a whisper. They cuffed her, right there in her own courtroom, led her out through a side door as cameras flashed and the gallery shouted questions. Lena sat frozen, watching it happen. Jennifer's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. Sterling stood, looking rattled for the first time. Your Honor, who's presiding now? The clerk looked lost. I'll need to contact the chief judge. This is unprecedented. The chief judge is already here. Another voice. A man in his 70s entered through the judge's chamber. Chief Judge Raymond Walsh. Lena had read about him. 30 years on the bench, reputation for being unmoved by pressure from either side. I've been monitoring this case, Walsh said, taking Morrison's seat. Given the serious allegations and the obvious conflict, I'm assuming jurisdiction immediately. Miss Cross, Mr. Sterling, my chambers, now. They filed into the judge's chambers. It was smaller than Lena expected. Books everywhere, no windows, a desk covered in files. Walsh sat, gestured for them to do the same. Let's be clear about something. I just watched one of my colleagues get arrested for corruption. I am not in a forgiving mood. So when I ask questions, I want straight answers. Understood? Everyone nodded. Good. Ms. Cross, what else do you have? Besides what you just presented? Jennifer pulled out a tablet. Financial records showing over $400 million in fraudulent property acquisitions. Digital evidence of conspiracy. Witness testimony from over 20 victims. audio recordings of defendant Hale discussing criminal activities, and testimony from a witness who worked inside Hale's operation for 3 years and documented everything. Walsh turned to Sterling. Response? Sterling looked like he wanted to disappear. Your Honor, my client maintains his innocence. These allegations are... Save it for trial. I'm asking if you can refute the evidence. We'll need time to review. How much time? Several weeks. These are complex financial... You have 1 week. Walsh's tone left no room for argument. I'm scheduling a preliminary hearing for next Monday. Both sides will present evidence. I'll determine if this goes to trial or if there's enough to move directly to indictment. He looked at Jennifer. You comfortable with that timeline? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sterling, that's not enough time to adequately... Then work faster. You're dismissed. All of you. They filed out. In the hallway, Sterling grabbed Jennifer's arm. You think you've won. You haven't. Hale has resources you can't imagine. Connections. By next Monday, your witnesses will be gone and your evidence will be... Let go of her. Adrian's voice was quiet. Dangerous. Sterling released Jennifer's arm, took a step back. This isn't over. You're right, Lena said. It's not, but you're losing anyway. They walked away, leaving Sterling standing there. Outside, the courthouse steps were chaos. The news of Morrison's arrest had spread, reporters screaming questions, cameras everywhere. Lena saw her own face on someone's phone screen, a screenshot from the courtroom, her sitting at the plaintiff's table. No comment, Jennifer said repeatedly, pushing through. We'll make a statement later. They made it to the SUV, doors locked, pulled away from the curb as people pressed against the windows. That happened, Sarah said from the front seat. That actually happened. Phase 1, Adrian said. Morrison's done, but Hale's still standing. Not for long. But Marcus was already on his laptop. The FBI arrest, that means they've been investigating independently, building their own case. Our evidence probably gave them what they needed to move. Which means Hale knows the walls are closing in, Robert said. Which means he's going to get desperate. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Miss Voss? A woman's voice, familiar. We need to talk. About your mother. Lena's blood went cold. Who is this? Someone your mother has been talking to, quite extensively. About you, about your father, about some very interesting allegations she's making. My mother has dementia. She seemed quite lucid when we spoke, telling stories about your father's drinking, his violence, how you've always been unstable, how this lawsuit is just your latest breakdown. The pieces clicked together. Lena felt sick. You can't use her. She's in a protected facility. She was. Until we moved her this morning. For her safety, of course. Given all the publicity. We wouldn't want anything to happen to her. Where is she? Somewhere safe. She'll stay that way as long as you do the right thing. Which is? Withdraw the lawsuit, disappear, and your mother gets excellent care for the rest of her life. In a real facility, with real doctors. Refuse, and the woman paused. Well, you know what happened to your father. It would be tragic if your mother suffered a similar fate. The line went dead. Lena's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. Adrian took it from her, steady and deliberate. What happened? His voice cut through the sudden ringing in her ears. They have my mother. The words came out strangled. They moved her from the facility. They're going to... She couldn't finish. Slow down. Who called? She told him. Every word. The threats. The ultimatum. Her mother's dementia. The stories they'd twist. The weapon they'd make of a sick woman who couldn't even remember her own daughter half the time. Marcus. Adrian's voice went hard. Find out which facility Lena's mother was in. Get me security footage. Find out who moved her and where they went. Marcus was already typing. On it. Thomas, I need your best people. Now. And call Detective Barnes. If they've kidnapped a vulnerable adult, it won't matter. Lena's voice was hollow. They'll have paperwork. Legal guardianship transfer. Something that makes it look legitimate. By the time anyone figures out it's fraud, she'll be... She stopped. Couldn't say it. Jennifer gripped her shoulder. We'll find her. Lena, look at me. We will find her. How? We don't even know where to start. Yes, we do. Sarah was pulling up files on her laptop. Your mother's care costs money, lots of it. Someone's been paying. If we can trace the payments, I've been paying. With my... Lena stopped. She'd been using her real name for her mother's care, the one piece of her old identity she couldn't abandon. They knew. They've known where she was this whole time. Which means they planned this, Adrian said. Which means there's a trail. Marcus? Got the facility. Greenwood Care Center in Riverside, pulling security footage now. His fingers flew across the keyboard. 2 people checked her out at 9:47 this morning. Man and a woman. Showed transfer papers signed by... He stopped. Signed by you, Lena. Your signature. That's not possible. I never... Forged, Jennifer said immediately. That's fraud. Kidnapping. We can use this. Only if we find her before they do whatever they're planning. Robert's face was grim. And if Hale's behind this, he's not just going to hold her. He's going to use her, put her in front of cameras, have her say terrible things about Lena, about her father, destroy their credibility. Then we get ahead of it. Adrian was already dialing. I'm calling every contact I have. Someone knows where they took her. The next 3 hours were chaos. Marcus traced the car that had picked up Lena's mother, a black sedan registered to another shell company. Security footage showed them driving east, then the trail went cold when they switched vehicles in a parking garage. Detective Barnes arrived with 2 other officers. We've issued an Amber Alert equivalent for vulnerable adults. Every cop in the city has her photo, but if they've already moved her out of the city... They haven't, Sarah pointed to her screen. The payment for her next month's care just processed. From an account in the city. They're keeping her close. Why? Lena asked. If they're going to use her against us, why keep her here? Control, Adrian said. They want to be able to produce her quickly. Bring her out when it does maximum damage, probably planning to have her at a press conference. Maybe even at the hearing next week. Jennifer's phone rang. She answered, listened, then went pale. Turn on the news. Channel 7. Now. Someone found a tablet, pulled up the channel. And there she was, Lena's mother, sitting in a chair in what looked like a nice living room, well-dressed, hair done, looking confused but not distressed, and next to her a woman Lena had never seen before. Mrs. Voss has asked to make a statement, the woman was saying to the camera, about her daughter and the false allegations being made against Councilman Hale. No? Lena's voice broke. No, please. Her mother looked at the camera. My daughter Lena has always been troubled, since she was a child. Her father tried to help her, but she paused, clearly confused. Where am I? You're safe, Mrs. Voss. You were telling us about your daughter. Lena, is she here? Her mother's eyes searched the room. I haven't seen her in so long. She used to visit, but then she stopped. She started crying. Where's David? He was supposed to pick me up. The woman next to her tried to redirect. Mrs. Voss, about the allegations. I don't understand. Who are you? Where's my daughter? Her mother stood, agitated. I want to go home. I want to see Lena. The feed cut abruptly, switched back to the studio anchor, who looked uncomfortable. We'll continue following this developing story. That was Margaret Voss, mother of Lena Voss, who earlier today filed federal charges against... Marcus muted it. They're going to edit that. Cut out the confused parts. Make it sound like she's coherent and accusing you. She asked for me. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. She wanted to see me, and they're using her. She's scared and alone, and I... The words dissolved into something that wasn't quite crying, but wasn't quite breathing either. Adrian pulled her against him. She didn't resist, just stood there shaking while he held her together. We need to find her, Jennifer said quietly. Before they air an edited version, before they damage her any further. The living room, Sarah was replaying the footage. It's staged. Nice furniture, plants, but look at the window. There's no view, just white light, like they're using artificial backlighting to hide where she actually is. So it could be anywhere, Robert said. Not anywhere. Marcus zoomed in on a reflection in the window behind Lena's mother. There, in the glass, you can just barely see... It's a logo on someone's shirt. He enhanced it. The image was grainy but visible, a company logo.
Westfield Property Management. That's one of Hale's companies, Sarah said, pulling up her files. They manage commercial real estate, offices, warehouses. Where's their main office? Adrian demanded. Downtown, but they have properties all over. Start with downtown. How many properties do they manage? Sarah scrolled through. 43 in the city limits. Too many to search. Thomas frowned. We'd need... Wait. Marcus was typing again. The broadcast. It went out live at 1:30, but look at the timestamp on the original feed. He pointed. It was recorded at 11 a.m., 2.5 hours earlier. Which means they needed time to move your mother after the recording, Adrian said. Somewhere close.
Somewhere they could keep her while they figured out how to use the footage. Detective Barnes stepped forward. We can get warrants. Search every Westfield property, but that takes time, judges, paperwork. We don't have time. Lena pulled away from Adrian, wiping her face. Every minute she's with them, they're scaring her, confusing her. She doesn't understand what's happening. Then we don't wait for warrants. Adrian pulled out his phone. Thomas, get the team. All of them. We're going to check every Westfield property until we find her. That's a legal search, Barnes warned. Anything you find won't be admissible. I don't care about admissible. I care about getting her back. Lena's voice was steel now. The fear had crystallized into something harder. You want to arrest me for trespassing? Fine. Do it after we find my mother. Barnes looked at her for a long moment. Then she turned to her officers. You two didn't hear any of this. Understand? They nodded, trying not to smile. Good. Because I'm going to be at the station doing paperwork all afternoon. Won't be available for calls. She looked at Lena. Bring her home. They split into teams. Thomas took Lena, Adrian, and 2 guards to the downtown properties. Marcus and Sarah went to the industrial district locations. Robert stayed at the secure location with Jennifer, coordinating and tracking via GPS. The first property was an office building, empty on Sunday. No signs of life. The second was the same. The third was a warehouse that looked abandoned but had fresh tire tracks in the dusty driveway. Here, Thomas said. This is it. They approached carefully. The main door was locked, but a side entrance had been left slightly ajar. Amateur. Or arrogant. Maybe both. Inside, the warehouse was mostly empty. Concrete floors, high ceilings, the smell of dust and old cardboard. But voices echoed from somewhere deeper in the building. Thomas and his team went first, weapons drawn. Lena followed with Adrian right behind her. They moved through the space like shadows, following the voices. A door at the back. Light spilling from underneath. Thomas tested the handle. Unlocked. He pushed it open. The room inside was exactly what they'd seen on the broadcast. Staged living room, fake window, lights set up for filming, and in the center, sitting on a couch, was Lena's mother. She was alone. The people who'd brought her were gone, probably thinking she was too confused to go anywhere on her own. Mom. Lena's voice cracked. Her mother looked up. For a moment, there was no recognition, just confusion. Then something clicked. Lena? Is that really you? It's me. I'm here. You're safe now. Where am I? These people said they were taking me somewhere nice, but she looked around, seeing it for what it was for the first time. This isn't a care home. What's happening? Someone took you, tried to use you to hurt me, but it's okay now. We're going home. Home. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. I don't remember where home is anymore. That's okay. I do. Lena helped her stand. Her mother was thinner than she remembered, frailer. The disease was eating her from the inside, stealing pieces every day. Your father, her mother said suddenly. Have you seen him? He was supposed to come visit, but he hasn't. Dad's gone, Mom. Remember? He died 5 years ago. No, that can't be right. I just talked to him yesterday. She looked around frantically. Where is he, David? Mom, please, we need to go. Not without David. I have to wait for... The warehouse lights died. All of them, plunging everything into darkness. Move! Thomas's voice cut through the sudden black. Everyone out, now! Footsteps, heavy. Multiple people converging on their location. Lena grabbed her mother's arm, started pulling her toward where the door should be. Light exploded. Flashlights, blinding after the darkness. Voices shouting commands. Freeze! Nobody move! Thomas's team had weapons up. The voices, police voices, were everywhere. Drop your weapons, now! We're not armed, Thomas shouted back. Well, we are, but we're licensed. Private security. I don't care about your license. You're trespassing on private property. The lights came back on. 6 police officers. Not Barnes's people. Different precinct. One of them Lena recognized from the files, Officer Michael Chen, on Hale's payroll. Well, Chen said, holstering his weapon and smiling. Lena Voss, breaking and entering, trespassing, unlawful restraint. He nodded toward her mother. That's a felony, Ms. Voss. She's my mother. These people kidnapped her. Funny. I have paperwork saying she was legally transferred to a new care facility, that you've been harassing her, that we receive calls about a possible abduction in progress. He pulled out handcuffs. You're under arrest. You can't. I can, and I am. He stepped forward. Adrian moved between them. You arrest her, you arrest me too, and then you'll have to explain to your captain why you're protecting people who kidnapped a vulnerable adult. I'm protecting a mother from her unstable daughter. Are you? Adrian pulled out his phone. Because I've been recording this whole conversation, including the part where you showed up 30 seconds after the lights went out. Almost like someone called you, told you we'd be here, set this whole thing up. Chen's smile faltered. And that recording is currently uploading to 3 different servers, along with footage from our body cameras. Yes, we're wearing body cameras. Showing us finding Mrs. Voss alone in a staged room, showing her confused and scared, showing her asking for her daughter. Adrian's voice was ice. So you can arrest us. But this footage goes public in about, he checked his phone, 2 minutes, and then you explain to your captain why you're helping cover up a kidnapping. Silence. Chen looked at his fellow officers. They looked uncertain now. Stand down, Chen. A new voice. Detective Barnes walked into the warehouse, badge up. I've got jurisdiction here. FBI's involved now. This crosses state lines with the shell companies. You and your boys can go. Barnes, you don't have authority to... Special Agent Martinez says differently. She's outside. Wants to talk to you, actually, about some financial irregularities in your bank accounts. Funny how they match up with deposits from Hale's companies. Barnes smiled without warmth. So, you leaving voluntarily, or do I need to make this official? Chen backed toward the door. His team followed. They left without another word. Barnes turned to Lena. Your mother okay? Physically, yes, but she's confused, scared. She needs to be in a real facility, a safe one. I know a place, federal protection. No one gets in or out without authorization. Barnes made a call, spoke quietly, then hung up. Transport's on the way. She'll be safe. I promise. Lena's mother was crying now, holding Lena's hand like a child. I don't understand what's happening. Why are all these people here? Where's David? Dad's gone, Mom, but I'm here, and I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. You're such a good girl. My Lena, always so strong. Her mother touched her face. You look tired. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom. You work too hard, just like your father. She smiled, eyes distant. He was so proud of you, did I tell you? He talked about you all the time. My daughter, the lawyer, he'd say. She's going to change the world. Lena's throat closed. He said that? Every day, right up until... Her mother's face crumpled. Where is he? Why hasn't he come to see me? He can't, Mom. He wanted to, but he can't. The federal transport arrived. 2 agents, kind faces, patient voices. They helped Lena's mother into the vehicle, explaining where she was going, that she'd be safe, that her daughter could visit. You'll come to see me? Her mother asked through the window. Every day if they let me. Good. That's good. She was already forgetting, already slipping back into the fog. Tell David I'm waiting for him. I will, Mom. The vehicle pulled away. Lena watched until the taillights disappeared. She asked for him, she said quietly. Even after everything, even after 5 years. She still thinks he's coming. Adrian's hand found hers. Maybe part of her knows he never left. Not really. They stood there as the sun set over the warehouse district. Lena felt hollowed out, empty, but also strangely calm. Her mother was safe.
That was what mattered. We need to get ahead of this, Jennifer said.
She'd arrived during the standoff, had been coordinating with Barnes. They aired that footage. It's everywhere now. We need to respond.
How?
Lena asked. Tell everyone my mother has dementia? That they kidnapped and exploited her? That just makes me look human, Jennifer interrupted. It makes you look human. Someone fighting for her family. Someone these monsters tried to destroy. She pulled out her phone. I've got 3 news outlets wanting exclusive interviews. We pick one.
We tell the truth. All of it.
I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Because if we don't control this narrative, Hale will.
Jennifer's eyes were hard. Your mother asked for your father. On camera. That wasn't in their edited version. But it'll be in ours. They did the interview that night. Lena sat across from Rachel Kim, an investigative journalist who'd been trying to expose Hale for years. The cameras were bright, hot. Lena wanted to run, but she didn't. My mother has early onset dementia, she said, looking directly into the camera. She doesn't remember most days. Doesn't remember that my father died 5 years ago. Doesn't remember that the man who killed him, and yes, I believe Victor Hale killed him, is still walking free. Her voice didn't shake. Today, Hale's people kidnapped her from her care facility, forged my signature, took her to a warehouse and tried to make her say things against me, against my father. When she asked for me, when she got confused and scared, they cut the cameras. How do you know they kidnapped her? Rachel asked gently. Because I found her, in a staged room, alone, terrified. And when we tried to bring her to safety, police officers on Hale's payroll tried to arrest us. She pulled out her phone, showed the footage. This is what really happened. They played it. All of it. Her mother's confusion, the staged room, Chen's arrival, Barnes's intervention. What do you want people to know? Rachel asked. That my father wasn't a drunk or a failure. He was murdered. Maybe not physically, though I have my suspicions, but they killed him, destroyed his reputation, his livelihood, his will to live, and they tried to do the same to me, to my mother, to everyone who's ever stood up to them. Lena leaned forward. But we're not backing down. Not this time. The evidence we have, it's irrefutable. Financial crimes, conspiracy, witness intimidation, kidnapping, and yes, possibly murder. We're going to prove all of it. Councilman Hale's lawyers have called you obsessed, unstable, a woman on a vendetta. Maybe I am, but I'm also right, and that's what terrifies them. The interview aired at 10 p.m. By 10:15, it had 1 million views. By 11, Hale's lawyers had issued a statement calling it a desperate publicity stunt. By midnight, 3 more witnesses had come forward. People who'd been watching, waiting, too scared to speak. Until now. This is it, Jennifer said, reviewing their statements. This is enough. We file enhanced charges tomorrow. Add the kidnapping, the witness tampering, everything. The hearing on Monday morning was standing room only. Chief Judge Walsh took his seat, surveyed the packed courtroom, and didn't look pleased. I've reviewed the filings from both sides, he said. I've also watched the news, which I shouldn't have to do to stay informed about cases in my courtroom. He looked at Sterling. Your client's associates are accused of kidnapping a protected individual. Care to respond? Sterling stood slowly. Your Honor, those allegations are... Save it. I want your client here, now, in my courtroom, so I can look him in the eye while we discuss these charges. Councilman Hale is currently unavailable. Make him available. You have 1 hour. Sterling made frantic phone calls. 40 minutes later, Victor Hale entered the courtroom. He looked smaller than Lena remembered. Older, the veneer of confidence cracking at the edges. He took a seat at the defense table. Didn't look at Lena. Didn't look at anyone. Walsh addressed him directly. Councilman Hale, you've been accused of running a criminal enterprise, of stealing properties worth hundreds of millions, of bribing judges, intimidating witnesses, and kidnapping a vulnerable adult. He paused. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. These accusations are... I'm not asking for your statement. I'm asking for your plea. The evidence presented by Ms. Cross's team is extensive. Financial records, digital evidence, witness testimony, audio recordings of you discussing criminal activities. Walsh shuffled papers. The FBI has also filed charges, federal charges. So here's what's going to happen.
You're going to trial. Immediately. I'm expediting this. Jury selection starts Wednesday.
Your Honor, we need more time to, Sterling began. You've had years. You're out of time. Walsh looked at Jennifer. Ms. Cross, is your team ready? We are, Your Honor. Then we proceed. Councilman Hale, you're remanded to custody pending trial. Bail is denied given the flight risk and the severity of the charges. The courtroom erupted. Hale shot to his feet. You can't. I'm a city councilman. You're a defendant in a federal RICO case. Bailiff, take him into custody.
They cuffed him right there. Hale's face went red, then white. He looked at Lena as they led him past. This isn't over, he said. Yes, she replied quietly. It is. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Jennifer and her team presented the evidence methodically, piece by piece. Financial experts testified about the shell companies. Digital forensics specialists authenticated the emails and recordings. Witnesses told their stories. Property owners who'd been destroyed, city employees who'd been pressured, David Park from his hospital bed describing the inner workings of Hale's operation. Lena testified on day 12, told the jury about her father, about watching him deteriorate, about finding the evidence, about everything they'd done to try to stop her. Why didn't you give up? Jennifer asked during direct examination. Because my father didn't raise a quitter, and because if I gave up, if I let them win, then everyone they've ever destroyed, it would all be for nothing. Their suffering would be meaningless. I couldn't let that happen. Sterling tried to break her on cross-examination, brought up her disbarment, her 2 years in hiding, suggested she was unstable, obsessed, willing to fabricate evidence to get revenge. Did you fabricate the financial records? He asked. No. The emails? No. The witness testimony? No. Then how do you explain the overwhelming amount of evidence against my client? It's overwhelming because he committed overwhelming crimes. For years. And no one stopped him. Until now. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. When they came back, Lena couldn't breathe. On the charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of racketeering? Guilty. On the charge of witness intimidation? Guilty. 16 charges. 16 guilty verdicts. Hale sat motionless as each one was read. His lawyers looked like they'd been hit by trucks. The courtroom behind Lena burst into applause. Walsh hammered his gavel. Order! I will have order! He looked at Hale. Sentencing is set for 4 weeks from today. Until then, you remain in custody. They led him away. This time he didn't look at anyone, just stared straight ahead as the reality of spending the rest of his life in prison settled over him. Outside the courthouse, the press conference was massive. Jennifer spoke first, outlining the verdicts, the evidence, what it meant. Then she turned to Lena. This case wouldn't have happened without Lena Voss, without her courage, her determination, her refusal to let her father's death be in vain. She's a hero, not just to her family, but to every person who's ever been victimized by powerful men who thought they were above the law. Lena stepped to the microphone, looked at the cameras, at the crowd, at all the people who'd been watching, waiting to see if justice was possible. 5 years ago, my father tried to do what we just did. He failed. Not because he wasn't smart enough or strong enough, but because he was alone. He didn't have a team. He didn't have people who believed him. She paused. I'm standing here today because I wasn't alone. Because Adrian Cade, Jennifer Cross, Sarah Chen, Marcus Webb, Robert Chen, and so many others believed that fighting back was possible. That winning was possible. What's next for you? A reporter called out. I'm petitioning to have my law license reinstated. And when I get it back, I'm going to keep doing this. Keep fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. Keep making sure that men like Victor Hale don't get away with destroying lives. What about your father? Do you feel vindicated? My father doesn't need vindication. He needs to be remembered correctly. Not as a drunk or a failure, but as a man who stood up when it mattered. A man who died trying to protect people. That's his legacy, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. 6 months later, Lena stood in her new office. It was small, not fancy, but it was hers. The sign on the door read Voss & Associates, Civil Rights Law. Her law license had been reinstated after a hearing where 3 judges reviewed the evidence of Hale's conspiracy, recognized the disbarment for what it was, retaliation,
and cleared her record completely. She'd hired 4 associates, young lawyers who wanted to make a difference. David Park was training to be a paralegal while he finished his law degree. He still had nightmares about the warehouse, but he showed up every day anyway. Her mother was in a good facility now. Federal protection had ended after the trial, but Adrian had arranged for private security and the best care money could buy. She didn't remember most of Lena's visits, but sometimes, just sometimes, she'd smile and say, "My daughter the lawyer," and Lena would pretend her eyes weren't burning. Adrian had kept his word, spent the last 6 months systematically dismantling his criminal empire, making restitution where he could, accepting consequences where he couldn't. He'd never be clean, too many years, too many sins, but he was trying. That counted for something. He walked into her office now, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Thought you could use this," he said, setting one on her desk. "Thanks." She gestured to the files covering every surface. New case. Property developer being squeezed out by a company using tactics that look familiar. "Need help?" "I have a whole team now. I can handle it." "I know you can." He sat in the chair across from her. "Doesn't mean you have to do it alone." She looked at him. 6 months ago, he'd been a crime lord. Now he was, what? An ally. A friend. Maybe something more, though neither of them had been brave enough to name it yet. "How's the dismantling going?" she asked. "Slowly, painfully. I made a lot of enemies building that empire. They're not happy about me tearing it down." He sipped his coffee. "But I'm sleeping better. That's something." "Yeah, it is." Her phone rang. Jennifer. "Turn on the news," Jennifer said without preamble. "Channel 7. Lena found the remote, switched on the small TV mounted in the corner. Victor Hale's face filled the screen. Not live. Archived footage from the sentencing hearing. "Former councilman Victor Hale died this morning in federal custody," the anchor was saying. "Prison officials report it was a heart attack. He was 63. Hale was serving a 40-year sentence for racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy charges following his conviction 6 months ago." Lena set down the remote. "You okay?" Adrian asked quietly. "I don't know." She watched footage of Hale being led away in handcuffs, remembered his face when the guilty verdicts were read. "He's dead. It should feel like closure, but it just feels empty?" "Yeah. Because it doesn't bring your father back, doesn't fix what was broken, just stops it from getting worse." Adrian stood. "That's not nothing, though. You stopped him, saved people he would have destroyed. That matters." "Does it?" "Ask the 23 families who got their settlements. Ask David Park, who's getting his law degree instead of being Hale's accomplice. Ask your mother, who's safe now." He moved to stand beside her. "Ask yourself if your father would be proud." She thought about the letter, the one she still carried, about his words about her being stronger than him. "He'd be proud," she said quietly. "Then that's your answer." The news moved on to other stories. The city kept spinning. Life continued. Lena looked at the files on her desk, at the new case waiting to be solved, at the people who needed someone to fight for them the way Jennifer and Adrian had fought for her. She picked up a file, started reading. "Where are you going?" Adrian asked when she grabbed her keys. "To meet a client. Woman who's being evicted through what looks like fraudulent paperwork. Sounds familiar. Want company?" She paused at the door, looked back at him. At this man who'd been a criminal and was trying to be better. Who'd helped save her and her mother and countless others. Who looked at her like she was someone worth believing in. "Yeah," she said. "I want company." They walked out together into the spring afternoon. The city stretched out around them, full of people who needed help, systems that needed fixing, injustices that needed fighting. Lena thought about her father, about his fight, about how it had killed him but also inspired everything that came after. She thought about her mother, safe in her facility, sometimes remembering and sometimes not, but always loved. She thought about the 23 families whose properties had been returned, their reputations restored, their lives rebuilt. She thought about David Park studying law books late at night, determined to become the lawyer he'd once helped destroy. And she thought about herself, no longer invisible, no longer hiding, no longer the woman serving drinks and swallowing rage, the weapon her father had believed she could become. Not for revenge, not anymore, for justice. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia Hendricks, the restaurant owner who'd testified. "Thank you for everything. Tom and I are buying back our old building, reopening next month. First meal is on the house for you and your team." Lena smiled, typed back, "We'll be there." She looked up at the sky, spring clouds drifting. Somewhere up there, maybe her father was watching. Maybe he could see what his fight had become, what his daughter had built from the ashes of his loss. "You okay?" Adrian asked. "Yeah," Lena said, and for the first time in 5 years she meant it. "I really am." They walked toward the car, toward the client who needed help, toward the next fight. Behind them, the courthouse stood against the sky. Inside it, somewhere in the records room, a case file would live forever. United States versus Victor Hale, guilty on all counts. And in a cemetery across town, a headstone bore fresh flowers. Someone had been there recently. Left a note. "You were right, Dad. I'm stronger than you thought. Stronger than I thought. Thanks for believing. Rest now. I've got this." The flowers were yellow roses, her father's favorite. The city moved on. Seasons changed. People healed or didn't, but they survived. And in a small law office with a hand-painted sign, Lena Voss sat with her team and planned how to help the next person who'd been told they were powerless, how to prove they weren't, how to win. One case at a time, one fight at a time, until everyone who needed a voice had one, until everyone who deserved justice got it, until the memory of her father and all the others like him who'd fallen fighting became something more than tragedy, became legacy, became change. The story didn't end with Hale's death. It ended here, in this office, with this work, with Lena Voss finally visible, finally whole, finally exactly who she was always meant to be. Not a victim, not a ghost, a fighter. And she was just getting started.